Chapter 2477. You're still acting with me? I've been acting with you for so long, and you still haven't had enough? Su-yun, think about it carefully. I don't know anything about you guys. Ishii Rasashima was furious. How dare you do such a reckless thing when you don't know anything? Inform your leader immediately. I need help. If you want help now, it's not impossible. Su-yun, you know that the real Mr. Gao is our Hua Xia virus expert. Other than him, I'm afraid no one else can help you. But you don't admit that you're Ishii Rasashima. Don't talk nonsense. Ishii Rasashima said, I don't know what you're talking about. Ishii Rasashima, don't say that I didn't save you. Su-yun, the real Mr. Gao has been brought back to Yanjing by me in the basement. His D*MN grandson has also been investigated and confessed everything. If you're still holding on like this, then I really can't help you. Ishii Rasashima was stunned. He was completely shocked. If you admit your identity, then I can prove that Gao Mingwei is the real Mr. Gao. You're Ishii Rasashima, so I can ask him to help you develop a vaccine. Su-yun, but if you say that you're Gao Mingwei, then that person is too suspicious. I can't let him come. Ishii Rasashima quickly nodded. Let him come, you must let him come. Su-yun, let me tell you, I'm Gao Mingwei, he's Ishii Rasashima. But he's also an expert. Let him help me. He's Ishii Rasashima, you're Gao Mingwei. Su-yun, then aren't we completely wrong? Why did you lock Ishii Rasashima in the basement? Ishii Rasashima was speechless. He didn't kill Gao Mingwei all these years because he needed an expert like Gao Mingwei to help him with his research. That was why he didn't kill him and just imprisoned him like this. He was also worried that something might happen one day. However, he did not expect that he would make a complete comeback at this time. Ishii Nagashima, make your own decision. Su-yun smiled and took out a syringe from the box on Ishii Rope Island. What's the name of this? Thorny tumor virus, right? Alright. I'll let you have a taste. I really want to see what kind of effect a scumbag like you would have if he had tumors all over his body. When Su-yun said this, he was not joking at all. He picked up the needle and pierced it directly into Ishii Shushima's body. Ishii Rasashima had no time to dodge. Su-yun stabbed him in the thigh and injected the thorny tumor virus into his subcutaneous tissue. Ishii Rope Island was on the verge of collapse. He had already been injected with 2 types of viruses. He could not believe that Su-yun would do such a crazy thing. Are you crazy? You're going to get me killed. Ishii Rasashima shouted angrily. Didn't you say that you have vaccines? Didn't you say it was easy when you tricked me into injecting myself? Su-yun, look, I've already given you an injection. You've already earned $1 million. Ask the chief for it later. As he spoke, Su-yun took out another virus syringe. What's this? The color is quite scary. Come, I'll help you earn another $1 million. When you admit it, I'll help you find the real Mr. Gao. Ishii Shushima retreated in fear when he saw the virus. This was a mutated form of syphilis. Its power could be said to be quite great. He had experimented on animals. After injecting it, the animal's lower body would fester almost within an hour. The vaccine he had developed did not seem to have much effect. Therefore, when Su-yun took out this thing, Ishii Rope Island's spirit collapsed. Put it down. Put it down. I admit that I'm Ishii Rope Island. I need Gao Mingwei to help me. Go and call him. Ishii Rope Island shouted hysterically. I need a more advanced vaccine as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll really be infected by the virus. Hurry. Su-yun sneered. You also have times when you're worried? You know how scary it is to experiment on people. Why do you want people to bear it? I don't know. I don't know. I beg you. Ask Gao Mingwei to help me. Ishii Rope Island said, I can already feel my heart beating faster. I can already feel that something is wrong with my body. Although Su-yun did not know whether he was pretending or not, Ishii Rope Island did seem to be a little strange. He quickly informed Han Zhan and Qian Feng at the door to come in and help him carry Ishii Rope Island to the testbed. He immediately told Wan Guangxiao and Gao Mingwei about the situation here. Gao Mingwei rushed to the scene immediately. He did not expect such a thing to happen. The Ebola virus was injected into a human body. He wanted to stab me with that thing. When I resisted, he directly injected it into him. Su Yun said, also, when I forced him to admit everything, I also injected a thorny tumor virus into him. Gao Mingwei stared at Su Yun with his eyes wide open. You child, you really don't know the severity of the situation. The viruses he can bring are all viruses with no cure. How can he let people use them casually? I don't think he's a human. Su Yun said, Mr. Gao, he put you under house arrest for so many years and did so many evil things. He even turned Takasuji into a man-eating demon. I really don't see him as a human. Gao Mingwei said, no matter how evil a person is, he's still a human. He should have human rights. I don't know why I think that way, but when I thought about how Ishii Rope wanted to inject these viruses into a human body, I wanted to inject them into his body and let him have a taste of what it's like. Su Yun was indeed hateful. When Wan Guangxiao saw that the situation had developed to this point, there was only one way. Old Gao, although you're a human rights advocate and are against using people for experiments, now that this person has been injected with the virus, you have no choice but to do so. Gao Mingwei silently found the vaccine for the thorny tumor virus and injected it into Ishii Rope. Then he got up and said to Wan Guangxiao, there's no vaccine for the Ebola virus. I can only try to develop a vaccine through his reaction. If this matter spreads internationally, people who don't know the truth will definitely criticize us for having no human rights. Have you thought about it? Wan Guangxiao nodded. I've thought it through. I have no choice. Otherwise. Wan Guangxiao did not finish his sentence. He considered Gao Mingwei's feelings. He wanted to say, otherwise, wouldn't Ishii Rope, who already had the virus, be wasted? Perhaps this really was a good opportunity to develop a vaccine for the Ebola virus. Since Ishii Rope was already in such a state, he had no choice but to cooperate with this experiment. If the experiment was successful, he could still have a chance to live. If the experiment failed, he would mutate into a walking corpse sooner or later. In that case, what was the point of him living? I need help immediately. Professor Gao. You have to help me. You have to help me. Ishii Rope was panicking. He could clearly feel that something was wrong in his body. I feel like my body is about to be torn apart. I beg you, please save me. Tell me the list of ingredients for the basic vaccine you developed. Gao Mingwei quickly entered into work mode. Just as everyone was wondering what was going on, Gao Mingwei entered into work mode. Wan Guangxiao immediately sent someone to the medical team to help him. Yu Meiren and several young doctors rushed over as soon as possible. At this time, Yu Meiren knew the truth of all this. After seeing Su Yun, she did not even have a chance to speak before she entered into work. Those who could not help at all were also asked to leave the research laboratory. Gao Mingwei told them that no one should come in before the experiment was over because it was dangerous. Once Ishii Rope mutated, there was a possibility that they would all be infected. Although Su Yun wanted to stay inside, Wan Guangxiao had already ordered that no one should disturb him inside. Fortunately, this was only a small possibility. Basically, there would not be any major problems. Even so, Su Yun's heart was still uneasy. He did not know how long this research would last. He kept walking at the door, but there was no way to speed up the people inside. Don't think too much. I will arrange for someone to keep an eye on this place. Wan Guangxiao said, don't worry. I will never let anything happen to you Meiren and Gao Mingwei. I promise. I believe in you, Chief. Su Yun saluted and left the laboratory door with the others. Chapter 2478. After leaving the laboratory, Su Yun was still nervous. He tried to distract himself with topics, but his thoughts were constantly pulled back to the laboratory. However, When he returned to the Dragon's Fury Special Forces and saw Hua Xiaolu again, a piece of news really did divert his attention. Hua Xiaolu pulled Su Yun aside and told him, "Boss, you've been gone for many days, but there's been no movement from Sky's Eye. That means that Chong Mo seems to have fallen into a state of despair. I have to send her food 3 times a week, but her condition doesn't seem to be ideal. The chief said that we can only leave this situation to you." Su Yun seemed to have forgotten about Chong Mo. Yes, now that he thought about it, it had been so long since Sky's Eye incident. No matter who it was, they would have fallen into despair. "I'm afraid that she won't listen to anyone except you," Hua Xiaolu said. "We can't imprison her like this for the rest of her life. That's too cruel." Su Yun nodded. "I should go and talk to her. Do I still need to ask for permission from the chief to see her now?" "Of course you don't need to," Hua Xiaolu said. "I think you should go and see her quickly. Sometimes, a person's mental state can completely collapse within a day." Su Yun also realized the danger of the situation, so he rushed to see Chong Mo. When Su Yun opened the door and entered the room alone, Chong Mo's lifeless eyes moved for the first time. It was as if she had suddenly come to life. "Sorry, I'm a little late," Su Yun said. "It's long past the time we agreed on. I thought that even if I didn't come back, you would be able to figure it out yourself and adjust your emotions." Chong Mo stared at Su Yun for a long time. The first thing she said was, "Have I really been abandoned?" "I don't think you should think that way. I think you should think that it's not that you've been abandoned, but that you're finally free. Su Yun, this is your fortune, not your tragedy. Do you understand what I mean?" "I don't understand at all. Why is it like this?" Chong Mo said, "I've never thought that I was free. I've never felt so lost. I'm like a child forgotten by my father, an abandoned child. Do you understand how I feel?" "Su Yun, I told you that you're just his chess piece, but you didn't believe me. You didn't take anything I said seriously. But this is the truth. I was abandoned. I'm not a chess piece." Chong Mo said. "All right, you're not a chess piece. Then what should you do? What should you do?" Su Yun said, "No one has come to save you. It's been so long, and no one has come. I can tell you that they haven't found the place yet. Will you feel better?" "No. I won't. I won't be comforted." Chong Mo looked at Su Yun blankly. "Because I'm sure they can find my location. They can definitely find me." "Why?" "Su Yun, the Dragon Brigade isn't a hidden place, but it's not that easy to find." Chong Mo's eyes were filled with tears. She reached out and touched the back of her neck. Her lips curled into a smile that no one could understand. There was a tracking chip hidden under her skin. When her father installed the tracking chip on her, he said it was to ensure her safety. No matter when, if she was in danger, they could find her and save her immediately. But now, she was really in trouble, but the chip didn't work. It had been so long, and no one had come to save her. She didn't know what had happened, but she was sure that her father knew where he was, and her brothers knew where she was. But why didn't anyone come to save her? What were they thinking? What were they doing? Other than saying that she was abandoned, how else could she explain it? There was no reason to explain it. So far, Chong Mo only knew that the chip could pinpoint her location. No matter where she went, her father would easily find her. This chip wasn't a chip that could save her from the abyss of suffering. It was just a chip that could monitor her movements. It was really that simple. It really had only one use. It had nothing to do with anything else. "I know. I've been abandoned," Chong Mo said. "But why?" "I didn't do anything. I didn't betray anyone. Why was I abandoned? People won't be abandoned. Only chess pieces are abandoned." Su Yun's words hit the nail on the head. That's right. Only chess pieces would be abandoned. No one would be abandoned. Chong Mo smiled bitterly. "I'm just a pawn in the end. I'm just an abandoned person. Back then, I wasn't saved. I was just caught in a dragon's pond and thrown into another tiger's den. Is that right? It seems that you've figured everything out. Su-yun said. That's true. Some things are even worse than you think. But you've walked out. As long as you can figure everything out, you've walked out. So what if I've walked out? Where can I go after walking out? Chong Mo said. Everything I have is there. Once I walked out, I had no hope of living. Su-yun shook his head. Since you've walked out, why can't you think about it? Sometimes, people will build their own happiness on the basis of other people's pain. Your pain is built on other people's happiness. I've been used all this time. Chong Mo smiled bitterly. But I still don't want to admit that I've been used. Why? Why do I have to be like this? You should let go. Su-yun took a deep breath. It's been so long. You should heal your wounds. Chong Mo shook his head. I suddenly feel that I shouldn't be living in this world. Living in this world seems to be a mistake. If you commit suicide now, then everything you've figured out will be meaningless. Su-yun said. If you've figured out everything, then you should be reborn. You shouldn't fall into confusion. Otherwise, why do you want to see everything clearly? Chong Mo was silent for a while. Then tell me, can I really walk out? Do I really have a chance to walk out? Of course you have a chance. Su-yun said. Not only do you have a chance to walk out, the chance is very big. Because you've figured everything out yourself. No one has interfered with you. No one has disturbed your thoughts. No one has affected you. Chong Mo smiled bitterly. Su-yun, before you came, I was wondering if you were the only one who could make me wake up. Or perhaps, I'll never wake up. But What's wrong with you waking up? Su-yun said. That way, you'll be able to understand everything better. But I'll be in more pain. Chong Mo said. It's better to deal with the pain quickly. Sometimes, things are like this. It's not something you or I can control. Su-yun said, since you've let nature take its course, then let nature take its course. You've already understood that as long as you're enlightened one day, the source of all your pain will no longer exist. Chong Mo seemed to have thought things through. Then how much longer do I need? If this continues, I'm worried that I won't be able to hold on. It won't be long. Su-yun said, you can come out with me and see the world. See this world that you've never come into contact with. It's not as dark as you think. Other than the darkness, it's also filled with light. Chong Mo was silent for a long time before speaking. Can I really go with you to see this world? Of course. Su-yun said. I believe that you'll recover quickly. There's something on me that I want to take out. Chong Mo touched the back of his neck again. A chip. A chip that can report my location at any time. Su-yun sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder Chong Mo was so disappointed. She had always known that the heavens I was aware of her location. Her last hope was brought to her by this tracking chip. That was why she was so desperate. Chapter 2479. It was expected that Su-yun would bring Chong Mo out, but it still surprised a lot of people. This was normal. After all, Chong Mo's identity was special. The first thing Chong Mo wanted to do after she came out was surgery. She decided to remove the chip from the back of her neck. This chip was a pain to Chong Mo, and she also decided to remember this pain. During the entire surgery, Chong Mo did not use any anesthetics. The reason she did this was because she hoped that she could remember this pain forever. It was just like when the chip was implanted. The pain made her wake up. After the chip was removed, Su-yun destroyed it. No one would ever know Chong Mo's location. Chong Mo also disappeared from the Dragon Brigade forever. This was also something that made Su-yun feel uneasy. The A.I. chip's location had already been exposed to Heaven's Eye's vision. Heaven's Eye definitely knew the location of the mystical Dragon Legion, as well as how powerful and important this place was. As long as Sky's Eye wasn't destroyed, Su-yun would feel uneasy. After the surgery, Chong Mo still wasn't relieved. She knew that the scar would be there forever. Su Yun had already thought of a solution for her. I know a very famous tattoo artist. People who want to get a tattoo from him have already made an appointment 2 years later. When you're almost healed, I'll take you to him for a tattoo. It'll cover up the scar completely. 2 years. Chong Mo didn't want to wait that long. I won't take that long. He'll agree to work overtime. Su Yun smiled. I still have some influence on the island. Chong Mo smiled faintly. Then when will we go to the island? I don't want to stay here anymore. Can we leave earlier? Sure. Su Yun, but we'll have to wait a few days. We can only leave when the leader confirms that we can. I'll apply for it immediately. In fact, Su Yun was free to leave whenever he wanted. Now that Gao Mingwei was here safely and Ishii's identity was exposed, Su Yun didn't have to do anything else. However, whether Chong Mo could leave was still unknown. After all, her identity was special. Su Yun couldn't make the decision for her. When Su Yun asked Wan Guangxiao about this, Wan Guangxiao thought for a few minutes and asked, "Do you really think Chong Mo can be trusted? If she leaves here, she'll still leave. Will you stop her?" I don't know. Su Yun, sometimes I feel sorry for her. She's been used by Sky's Eye. Now, if she wants to fight for her freedom, we have no reason to stop her, right? Wan Guangxiao shook his head. Of course there is a reason. Just because she came from Sky's Eye, she knows everything about Sky's Eye. Su Yun, I know the importance of this, but isn't it too cruel for her to do that now? It is, but if we want to find the root of Sky's Eye, we can only go through her. Wan Guangxiao, I don't object to you taking her away, but you have to think of a way to solve this problem and convince her to cooperate with us. When Su Yun brought Chong Mo back, he wanted to use her to completely eradicate Sky's Eye. However, Su Yun didn't think that way now. He felt that Chong Mo wouldn't accept it easily. After all, she had just accepted him. She might not be able to accept it if she betrayed him immediately. I'll do my best, Su Yun. If you can't guarantee this, I can't let you take her away. Wan Guangxiao, Su Yun, you know very well that Chong Mo's tracking chip exposed our location. Sky's Eye is a very extreme organization. Sooner or later, they will do something crazy. We have to solve this problem before that happens. Su Yun nodded. He knew the seriousness of this problem. I know you'll consider other reasons. Wan Guangxiao, you don't have to do the mission of eliminating Sky's Eye. Chong Mo doesn't have to do it either. As long as she tells us the exact location, I'll take care of the rest. I understand, Su Yun. Wan Guangxiao nodded. I agree with you taking her away. However, you're taking her away not only to take care of her, but also to convince her. This is your mission. Then in the future, Chong Mo. Su Yun, what do you plan to do with her? This girl is a talent that can be molded. Wan Guangxiao, her nature is good. She was just used by others. If she can turn over a new leaf, I'm still looking forward to her joining the Dragon Fury team. Su Yun smiled. He had the same idea. With your words, I'm relieved. I'll think of a way to do a good job for her. Right now, she doesn't have a home. I also think this is the best place for her. That'll depend on your ability, Wan Guangxiao laughed. I believe that if it's what you want, she'll agree. Chief, you can't joke about this. Su Yun knew what Wan Guangxiao meant. He said awkwardly, she relies on me only because I brought her back to this place. After she was abandoned by Sky's Eye, she naturally relies on me. There's no other reason. Wan Guangxiao shook his head. That's hard to say. You're fated to be in love. There are many things that you can't control. Su Yun's face darkened and he was completely speechless. Then you should prepare to take her away. I'll wait for your news, Wan Guangxiao said. It's best to solve this problem as soon as possible, understand? I promise to complete the mission, Su Yun said. Gao Mingwei was indeed the #1 person in Huaxia. Even if there was no cure for a virus like Ebola, he still used the vaccine developed by Ishii Ropeshima to carry out research. After many improvements, the vaccine could indeed control the virus infection in Ishii Ropeshima's body. Even so, Ishii Ropeshima's body had mutated. However, his mind was still relatively intact and he didn't completely turn into a walking corpse. However, this state only made Ishii Ropeshima more painful. He could clearly feel the festering and pain in his body. He could clearly feel the heart-wrenching changes. He even hoped that the experiment could be stopped and he could be given a quick death. That way, he wouldn't have to endure this torture. This was called the evils that one brought on themselves were the hardest to bear. Yu Meiren had been working as Gao Mingwei's assistant for the past few days. She was physically and mentally exhausted. Even when Su Yun was about to leave, she couldn't have a meal with him to say goodbye. The laboratory was too busy. She couldn't afford to be distracted at all. Therefore, Su Yun didn't disturb her. He just felt sorry for her body. Su Yun drove Chong Mo away from Dragon Brigade and went straight back to Qingdao. Chong Mo rolled down the windows and enjoyed the scenery along the way. She really didn't expect this world to be so wonderful, nor did she expect this world to be so vast. The mountains and rivers along the way made Chong Mo feel especially fresh. If she had to say what she was thinking now, it would be her gratitude to Su Yun. It was all thanks to Su Yun that she was able to comprehend these things. Before this, Chong Mo's heart was only filled with hatred. Other than hatred, there was only sin. When a person's heart was only filled with hatred, everything they saw would be ugly. When a person's heart was open to love and appreciation, everything they saw would be different. Everything would become beautiful. Chong Mo started to like this kind of beauty. It seemed that everyone's smile was beautiful. It felt good to have no hatred in one's heart. It was as if he had been reborn. Everything was different from before. The car sped on the highway. Chong Mo's heart flew higher and farther. The birds in the sky were what Chong Mo yearned for the most. They could fly wherever they wanted to go. There was no need to worry about anything. Freedom. This was true freedom. During those years in Heaven's Eye, what Chong Mo received wasn't freedom. It was another form of imprisonment. It wasn't her body that was imprisoned. It was her mind. Compared to the imprisonment of her body, the imprisonment of her mind seemed to be more terrifying. Chong Mo suddenly had a feeling that she didn't want to go back to the place where her mind was imprisoned. Chapter 2480. Su Yun arranged for Chong Mo to stay in the movie hotel and handed her over to Bai Xiaoye. Bai Xiaoye was shocked when she heard Chong Mo's identity. Although Chong Mo didn't do anything in front of her, Bai Xiaoye still felt a sense of danger from her. After all, her identity and past were all in front of her. Brother, are you sure you want her to stay here? What if everything she's showing is just an illusion? Bai Xiaoye's worry wasn't unfounded. We don't have time to care about so many things now. Don't forget that Zhang Zixue is still on Qingdao. Although she's doing well as an extra now, once something comes up. Su Yun smiled. You don't have to worry about Chong Mo. Prepare a room for her and let her decide the rest. I believe she'll figure it out herself. You just said that this is a mission given to you by your leader. Don't you need to keep an eye on her? What if she runs away? Bai Xiaoye wasn't so careless. If she wants to run away, we won't be able to persuade her even if she stays here, Su Yun said. So, it's meaningless to force her to stay. Bai Xiaoye heaved a sigh of relief. She was speechless. You really dare to think and do anything. Why don't you think about the consequences? What if things don't go as smoothly as you think? If I'm overthinking, I won't be able to make the right decision, Su Yun said. This is my only way now. Then I'll try my best to keep an eye on her, Bai Xiaoye said. If you don't have time to keep an eye on her, I'll do it for you. Su Yun shook his head. Don't do this. If Chong Mo feels that someone is always following her, she won't be able to feel complete freedom. If she doesn't feel complete freedom, she won't be able to understand the final truth. She doesn't need anything now. She just needs complete freedom. Although Bai Xiaoye didn't quite understand, she believed that Su Yun must have his own thoughts and reasons. Fine, I'll listen to you and treat her as an ordinary guest. Bai Xiaoye said, she can do whatever she wants. Get someone to prepare a car. Get someone to take her wherever she wants to go, Su Yun said. Guqin Island is quite big. The view of the sea and the mountains is enough for her to play for a while. I'll leave it to you. Bai Xiaoye nodded. Okay, don't worry. After settling everything, Su Yun went to say goodbye to Chongmo. Don't worry and stay here. If you want to go somewhere, just tell little Yi and she'll arrange it for you. Don't stand on ceremony. Just treat this place as your own home. Aren't you going to stay here? Chong Imo asked. Where are you going? Of course, I'm going to do my own things, Su Yun said. Channy Entertainment Group is a big business. Someone has to take care of it. Chong Imo nodded. Su Yun didn't bring Chong Imo back home but arranged for her to stay in a hotel. No matter what, Chong Imo was still a dangerous person. Before she completely surrendered, Su Yun didn't want her to come into contact with too many people around him. Bai Xiaoye was smart and quick-witted. If Su Yun arranged for Chong Imo to stay in a hotel, Bai Xiaoye would definitely be able to sense it. Su Yun believed that even if he told Bai Xiaoye not to care about Chong Mo's matters, Bai Xiaoye would definitely watch the surveillance cameras every day to observe Chong Mo's movements. After returning home, Su Yun slept soundly. In the middle of the night, he woke up with a start. Although Su Yun didn't remember what he dreamed of, he felt that it was an ominous sign. As for what exactly was wrong, Su Yun couldn't tell. In short, it made him feel a little strange. Lin Ge had been playing the game of walking the dog for the past few days in Tokyo. Every time, he and Xie Fei's would leave clues for Kyohei Jiangye. Seeing Kyohei Jiangye lead the Sakura Group members to nothing time and time again, Lin Ge couldn't stop smiling. If Su Yun played with them, he would probably be even happier. Today was the last day for Kyohei Jiangye. If Kyohei Jiangye still couldn't catch them, then they would turn the tables and launch an attack. This was also the reason why Kyohei Jiangye couldn't sleep for the past 2 days. He had no idea what to do with his opponent, who he couldn't figure out at all. Now, he had to face a change in role. His opponent, who had been hiding all this time, was going to switch from defense to offense. This was something that Kyohei Jiangye couldn't figure out at all. Kyohei Jiangye was really afraid that the other party would have some tricks up their sleeves. He was under too much pressure. Because of the shrine, the higher-ups had already put too much pressure on him. After so many days, he still couldn't find the culprit. He couldn't give the government a reasonable explanation. How could he not be under pressure? The higher-ups had already said that if Kyohei Jiangye couldn't arrest the culprit within 3 days, the Sakura Group wouldn't be needed to resolve this matter. This meant that the Sakura Group would lose their status, and Kyohei Jiangye would face the possibility of being removed from his position as the leader of the Sakura Group. Ever since the Sakura Group was established, they had never lost face like this. Kyohei Jiangye didn't want to become the first leader of the Sakura Group to be unable to raise their heads, nor did he want to become the first leader to be removed from his position. Therefore, he couldn't let the situation continue to develop. Now, he had to solve the problem that was troubling him. But how should he solve it? Kyohei Jiangye gathered all the members of the Sakura Group and asked everyone to come up with a plan. They had to force the culprit out tonight. In the end, they chose the most extreme method, and this method was something that even the Japanese government didn't want to see. Kyohei Jiangye led his men to seal off a Chinese street in Tokyo. More than 80% of the people living in this place were from Huaxia. There were Huaxia restaurants and specialty shops here. The entire street was filled with Huaxia businesses. Kyohei Jiangye sealed off this place for only one purpose. He wanted to force out an opponent who was always following him and familiar with his movements. If the other party was still hiding and refused to see him, then he would start a massacre here. Although the Japanese government definitely didn't want this to happen, it would seriously affect the relationship between the two countries. At least they were still at odds on the surface, and some things hadn't completely fallen out. If such a thing really happened, Huaxia would definitely fall out completely. Once Hua Xia fell out, the consequences would be obvious in Japan. Therefore, they still hoped to maintain this relationship so that Hua Xia could tolerate their little despicable acts. Because if they didn't fall out, at least Hua Xia would come to Japan during the 7-day long holidays to buy things and earn more money for them to develop their economy. Speaking of which, Hua Xia people who went to Japan to buy things during the National Day holiday. Would they die if they didn't go to Japan to buy things? Don't say that buying things in Japan would be cheaper than buying things in Hua Xia. Since you're willing to fly to Japan and can afford to buy a plane ticket and stay in a hotel, you don't care about that little bit. Don't say that you're doing this to put pressure on domestic goods and to make the country realize that they should lower their tariffs and keep consumers in the country. You can spend the money you earn however you want. Indeed, it's not up to others to interfere. However, this kind of behavior is really despicable. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just so straightforward that it gives people such a feeling. At the very least, you have to pay some tariffs to the country to buy Japanese goods in China. If you go to Japan to buy things, you're really throwing away all your money. Don't let your own fertile water flow into your own fields. Now, all of it is flowing out, and you can't earn a single cent. If Kyohei Jiangye really dared to do something excessive in Tokyo's Huaxia Street, there would probably be no Huaxia people shopping in Japan in the future, right? If that was the case, Japan would probably lose a lot of money on New Year's Day, Spring Festival, Qingming Festival, Labor Day, Dragon Boat Festival, National Day, and other holidays every year. Therefore, the government would definitely not support Kyohei Jiangye's actions. However, Kyohei Jiangye, who was forced into a corner, had no way out. He was already walking on an extreme path. It could be said that no matter who came to stop him, he would not change his choice. Chapter 2481. Kyohei Jiangye was determined. If the people who dared to provoke him in Dongying didn't take the initiative to come out, he would flatten Chinatown. He didn't care if he would be on the headlines of the world because of this, nor did he care if he would be criticized by thousands of people. This was because Kyohei believed that even if he did this, if something happened, the emperor would support him and help him get through this trouble. This was because everything he did was to protect the interests of the upper-class group, and not for himself. That was why Kyohei Jiangye had such an arrogant ambition. That was why he did such an unimaginable thing. It was impossible for any normal person to do such a thing. Even his daughter, Xiaoshi Jiangye, couldn't believe it. She came to Chinatown and reprimanded her father for making such a decision. "Are you crazy?" Jiangye's Xia she never asked about what her father did, because she knew that everything her father did was for the country. But this time, she couldn't stand by and do nothing. This was not a joke. The current human society was not as barbaric as before. If she did this, she would be despised by the whole world. Kyohei Jiangye was her father after all. She couldn't just watch her father do such a thing. Kyohei Jiangye said coldly to his daughter's reprimand, "Why are you here? What happened here has nothing to do with you. You'd better stay away from me. I don't want you to get involved. This is something I have to face. There are thousands of ways to solve things, and this is the stupidest way." Xiaoshi Jiangye said, "If you do this, no one will help us. Even the Abe family, who has always asked you to help them, won't stand up to help you. Father, you have to believe me. I have no choice." Kyohei Jiangye said, "My mission is to work for the emperor and the government. This is my duty, the Sakura Group's duty." "You don't understand." "Do I not understand or do you not understand?" Xiaoshi Jiangye said, "On the surface, the Sakura Group is said to be the loyal subordinates of the emperor, but in fact, it is just a tool used by the Abe family." Kyohei Jiangye was a little angry. Perhaps it was because his daughter was right. "That's enough. Shut the hell up and go home. You don't have the right to interfere in the matters here. I have the final say in the matters of the Sakura Group. You don't have the right to educate your father." "I won't." Xiaoshi Jiangye was famous for her willfulness. "If you do something wrong, I won't just stand by and watch you make a mistake. You can't change anything, you really can't change anything." Kyohei Jiangye said, just listen to your father this time and go back. No one can change my mind once I've decided on something. Zhang Ye she shook his head. If you really want to kill in Chinatown, then I will die for you. What nonsense are you spouting? Kyohei Jiangye said, I am doing this to force those who oppose us to come out. If they came out, I wouldn't have done such a thing. But what if they don't come out? Jiangye and Xia she said, then you will make a move. Kyohei Jiangye nodded, of course, if they give up the lives of their own people, then why should I care about their lives? There are only Hua Xia people here. There are no Japanese. Our own people have been escorted out. The rest of the people here are all Chinese. Are Hua Xia people not people? Jiangye and Xia she said, we are all the same. Everyone is the same. The tragedy has already happened. Do we want to let it happen again? Do you really want to start a war? Regarding Jiangye Xiaxi's question, not only Jiangye Jinghei, everyone present was shocked. No one knew how to answer this question. In such a peaceful world, what did war mean? Look at Lake, look at Token, look at the countries that had experienced modern war. Look at the people and people of those countries. What kind of abyss of suffering were they in? Modern war couldn't be compared to World War I and World War II. At that time, having a tank was amazing. Having a plane was enough to bomb. What about modern war? They had been using drones for a long time. Even if a soldier only used long-range warfare, they could still fight inhumanely. The flames of war wouldn't benefit any people. It would always be the interests of the people and the interests of mankind that would be harmed. Although a small number of people in power would benefit, in the end, the gains didn't make up for the losses. Abe San's actions seemed to be to start a war, and the Japanese's right-wingers were even more restless. Sometimes, if you know that something is wrong, why do you still do it? Jiangye and Xia she saw their father's hesitation. You clearly know that Abe's far-right forces are clowns on the world stage. Why are you still willing to listen to their arrangements? On the world political stage, the far-right forces weren't new. They had existed since the collapse of the Japanese regime in World War II. It was just that they showed different characteristics in different historical stages. Their momentum was sometimes high and sometimes low. Even though the far-right forces didn't affect the world for many years and didn't pose a direct threat to world peace, the international economic and political situation changed greatly. In particular, the end of the Cold War has brought about a new development of the far-right forces. Its direct and indirect damage to regional stability and peace, as well as to interstate relations, as well as the various problems that have arisen from it, cannot help but arouse alarm and concern. In fact, the far-right forces had spread all over the world. Most countries had far-right organizations of all shapes and sizes. Among them, Germany and Italy was a typical example. Of course, they were a typical example because the far-right forces of these three countries had deep historical ties with the Japanese. Germany and Italy were the breeding grounds of the Japanese. In Asia, the far-right forces were mainly concentrated in Japan. Because like Germany and Italy, Japan was also the main culprit behind the start of World War II. After World War I, extreme nationalism, national revanchism, and national chauvinism were combined into a special reactionary historical phenomenon. It was the Japanese that was born on the basis of the far-right. Following the end of World War II and the collapse of the Japanese regime, the term Japanese became synonymous with the reactionary, anti-democratic, cruel, and aggressive nature of the Japanese. I want to be loyal to what I want to be loyal to. Jiangye Kyohei was still unmoved. Father, since the Japanese developed on the basis of the far-right, we need to clearly see the intrinsic connection between the far-right forces and the Japanese. We also need to be wary of people using various excuses to deny or cover up this internal connection and deliberately set up a breeding ground for the new Japanese. Jiangye Xia she angrily rebuked. Jiangye Xia she's position was very clear. She loved her country, she loved Japan very much. She would never think of betraying her country. She loved everything about Japan. The only thing that made her sick was the rulers of Japan. Those far-right people took control of the regime and changed a country that could have been cute into something ugly. The Sakura Group had indeed always been an organization under the control of the far right. However, when it came to Jangye Kyohei's generation, the world became peaceful. Therefore, there were some special changes in their thinking. Jangye Xiaxi's generation also experienced the beauty of peace. Therefore, in the hearts of Jangye Xiaxi's generation, she didn't want to continue following in the footsteps of the far right. She realized that it was a mistake, so she didn't want to continue making mistakes. She desperately wanted to change this wrong situation. Her father, on the other hand, lived in an intersecting era. Therefore, his thinking was still strongly influenced by the far right. Although he wasn't considered a far-right person, he was definitely a right-wing person. Just like Jangye Xiaxi said, although Jangye Kyohei was a right-wing person, he definitely wouldn't admit that he had any thoughts about the Japanese. Jangye Xiaxi's words just now seem to have given Jangye Kyohei a heavy blow. Chapter 2482. It did not matter who was right or wrong because no one would think that they were wrong. Kyohei Jiang could admit that his daughter's words were not wrong, but he would not admit that his position was wrong. That was because he did not think that his position was wrong from the bottom of his heart. For so many years, he had always believed in everything he believed in. He was loyal to the emperor. He did not think that what he did was wrong. The Japanese had a special trait in their bones. They worshipped and learned from the strong. They treated the weak as they wished and only learned from the outstanding culture. In essence, they used their hatred for Huaxia to vent the pain of their nation's lack of their own culture. No matter how strong they did not have an outstanding culture that truly belonged to them. That was their greatest sorrow. Therefore, as a right-wing person, Kyohei Jiang did not have a good impression of Huaxia. Kyohei Jiang did not think that the invasion of the past was wrong because Japan wanted to become a world power. However, Japan's geographical conditions severely limited their development. Therefore, in the 30s and 40s, there was only one way for Japan to become a world power, and that was to invade. If it were not for the tenacious resistance of Huaxia's people, Japan would definitely have become the overlord of the Asia-Pacific. They would have joined forces with Germany, Austria, and Italy and divided the world. Therefore, the effect of the war back then was not only to end Huaxia's humiliating modern history. More importantly, Huaxia shattered the dreams of the Japanese far-right forces to dominate the world. When a person's dream was shattered, the consequences were very terrifying, let alone a nation with great self-esteem. Therefore, this failure had always been unbearable for the Japanese right-wing forces. Although they had admitted their defeat, they had been suppressing the anger in their hearts all this time. They hated failure and hated the painful lesson that Huaxia had taught them. Therefore, the right wing had always had that kind of hatred. This was the reason why they repeatedly provoked Huaxia's bottom line. It was also the reason why they repeatedly went to the Jingwa Ghost Society to pay respects to those war criminals. They paid respects to those war criminals because it was a pity that they did not live up to their expectations back then and could not take down Huaxia. Those heroic seniors were their role models. Because they no longer had the chance to take down Huaxia. In fact, they had completely lost the possibility of fighting against Huaxia. Because they were defeated. What did it mean to be defeated? This meant that they would forever be sanctioned and would not be allowed to possess offensive weapons. The crime of having been defeated in battle would always be on their heads and they had to abide by it. They were not allowed to own an army, invade the territory of other countries, or have ambitions for war. This included rapidly expanding their armaments, recruiting large numbers of soldiers, provoking other countries, and attacking other countries without the premise of self-defense. The defeated country must abide by the above rules. Otherwise, they will be sanctioned by the United Nations. The defeated country had been abiding by the rules until now. Japan had made use of the fact that the U.S. Empire had handed over the Diaoyu Islands to Japan. Therefore, ramming Huaxia's fishing boat was not against the rules on the surface. In reality, it was a constant provocation. Now, the Japanese called the day of surrender the day of war, the day when the war ended. They called the surrender the Imperial Edict of War, the day when the war ended. Even now, he didn't want to admit defeat. How thick-skinned did he have to be to do this? This was not something an ordinary person could do. Xia Shi Jiangye represented the type of young people who respected history. She understood everything and knew who was right and who was wrong. That was why she objected. She had always refused to join the Sakura Group because she knew the Sakura Group's position too well. An organization that developed and grew in an era when democracy was popular was naturally born for democracy. They advocated military force and military expansion. They took militarism and invasion as the foundation of establishing a country. They placed the country completely under military control. They made all aspects of politics, economy, culture, and education serve the ideological and political system of expanding the military and preparing for foreign wars. They were filled with cruelty and reaction. They had once brought huge disasters to mankind. Its basic theory included the denial of peace, the insistence that war was inevitable, and even the belief that war itself was beautiful and fascinating. They believed that the survival and development of China mainly relied on plundering and expansion. Therefore, this was the important reason why they did not admit the mistake of invading. Until now, Kyohei Jiangye did not think that his country was at fault. Therefore, he did not understand why his daughter felt that all the mistakes were on them. Most of the races in the world do not like peace. Of course, if the race is at a disadvantage, it's a different story. Kyohei Jiangye said, all the races in the world have expanded their territory during their heyday and invaded others. People walk to higher places, and water flows to lower places. Naturally, a country can only become stronger by constantly invading. It is precisely because of this that there is no permanent peace for mankind. Temporary peace is only for better war. This was the inner thought of a fascist under the influence of the extreme right. It was a very pure kind. If they did not fight, they would not be strong. They would forever live on that tiny island and would forever be looked down upon by the world's major powers. Kyohei Jiangye took a deep breath. Do you know why the Yue Empire always treats us Dongying as a lapdog? It is because our country is small. What if we had a territory as big as Huaxia? Would they still dare? Jiangye and Xia Shi were speechless. Could it be that the Yue Empire treated them as lapdogs? Could it be that they did not end up as a lapdog for the Yue Empire? Why did the Russian Air Force dare to send strategic bombers close to Dongying's airspace? Kyohei Jiangye said, it is because we are a small country. Isn't Russia's war problem more serious than Dongying's? Isn't the Yue Empire causing more wars in modern times than us? Why did no one scold them? Isn't it because they are a superpower? What is a superpower? Must it have territory? Jiangye and Xia Shi asked. Of course. Of course. Kyohei Jiangye said with certainty, look at those superpowers. They advocate hard power and disdain to play Tai Chi on the surface. They seem to lack wisdom, but in fact, great wisdom appears to be stupidity. The Yue Empire and Russia are both straightforward and seek revenge for the smallest grievance. On the contrary, they can protect their country's interests better. Huaxia keeps playing Tai Chi, but it will show us their weak side. Jiangye and Xia Shi smiled, but Tai Chi uses 4 tails to deflect 1,000 caddies. Before we suffer damage, we can't be sure if Huaxia is weak. Huaxia people say that although our country is big, we must fight for every inch of land. Russians say that although the country is big, there is not an inch of extra land. Kyohei Jiangye said, the difference is that the Russians do what they say, but Huaxia can't do it. Huaxia treats territory differently. Those that are far away and difficult to defend, they often don't care so much. Is it this kind of attitude that stimulates us to take an inch and want a mile? Is it because of this that we can gradually encroach on Huaxia? Jiangye and Xia Shi said, haven't you noticed that Huaxia is just as concerned about distant territory now? This is not the World War II era. Kyohei Jiangye smiled. There is no negotiation on territorial issues, only war. But Huaxia doesn't dare to fight. After a pause, Kyohei Jiangye continued, do you still remember our request for the 4 northern islands from Russia? Old Pooh ridiculed us contemptuously and told us to snatch it if we have the ability. This is the implementation of the theory above, There is no negotiation on territorial issues, only war, to specific matters, and immediately blocked our follow-up moves. Then why don't we snatch it? The 4 northern islands are ours. Why should we provoke Hua Xia? Zhang Ye and Xia, she said, just because they didn't say such harsh words? A country of etiquette and a clan of war are different. Why can't you reflect on yourselves? Zhang Yi and Xia, she didn't have the nerve to say it bluntly. They were being a little shameless. The Japanese were very shameless. They often made unreasonable requests and then made so-called concessions. In the end, they still wanted to snatch other people's benefits for nothing. For example, on the issue of the East China Sea between Hua Xia and the Japanese, it was the Japanese who made unreasonable requests first and forced Hua Xia to make concessions that they shouldn't have. They wanted to use the same trick on Russia, but old Pu didn't fall for it at all. He was very decisive and rejected them with his first sentence, not giving the Japanese a chance to speak at all. If Hua Xia dared to say that, the Japanese definitely wouldn't dare to fart or say a word. A defeated country should die wherever it wanted to. What right did they have to shout at Hua Xia? This should be the tough attitude that Hua Xia should show. Chapter 2483. These are all matters between countries. It's not up to me to say anything, and it's not up to you to speak. Kyohei Zhongye was really angry. This was a matter of face. His self-esteem made him unwilling to admit that they bullied the weak and feared the strong. They didn't have the courage to face Russia. This was something he had to admit and face. Xiaoshi Zhongye took a deep breath. If you really want to do something to Chinatown, I won't stand by and watch. Do you know what nonsense you're talking about? You're my daughter, and the future successor of the Sakura Group. You have to stand in the interests of the emperor and the government. Kyohei Zhongye really didn't understand why his daughter was so stubborn. It's because I stand in the interests of the country that I hope for peace, and I hope for peace between humans. Xiaoshi Zhongye shook her head. I won't back down. I'm going to raise this place to the ground. Do you want to stay here and die with Hua Xia? Kyohei Zhongye said bluntly. Xiaoshi Zhongye smiled. Okay, then I'll stay in Chinatown. If you want to raise this place to the ground, then raise me to the ground too. Do you really want to anger me to death? Kyohei Zhongye said. Don't think that I will tolerate everything you do just because you're my daughter. For the country and individuals, I must guarantee the interests of the country. Do you understand? You only guarantee the interests of the Abe government and a small part of the far-right forces. You don't guarantee the interests of the country and the Yamato family at all. Xiaoshi Zhongye said, if you dare to touch Chinatown, it will inevitably cause a war. Kyohei Zhongye said, really? But I don't think Hua Xia will do that, because they won't destroy the peace of their country because of these things. They won't want a war. That's just your wishful thinking. Why won't they? Xiaoshi Zhongye said, don't treat tolerance as forbearance. Then I can tell you that since 1995, Hua Xia has been the main investor in Indonesia. But they're not even third-class citizens. I saw with my own eyes that many Chinese people were kidnapped in Medan. After a Hua Xia fashion store was robbed, the owner's daughter was impaled with a wooden stick. Kyohei Zhongye's words were not nonsense. When he was young, he did live in Indonesia for a period of time. These were all things he had seen with his own eyes. Poor Hua Xia. They treated Indonesia as their own country, but they were massacred by their own country. They hoped that they could get help from Hua Xia, who share the same roots. But Hua Xia didn't care. They could only be robbed, humiliated, beheaded like livestock, skinned, dismembered, slaughtered, and burned. Kyohei Zhongye said, do you understand? Xiaoshi Zhongye was stunned. I've driven to Hua Xia's residential areas and commercial centers. Without exception, the entire street has been ransacked. There are broken walls everywhere. The scene is the 3 empty policies in Hua Xia's historical memory. Rob, kill, and burn. Kyohei Kono continued. At that time, I truly understood how lucky I was to be a Japanese. Because this was a real-life violent incident, not a movie script. Why? Xia Shi Zhangye was shocked just by listening to it. The scenes of chopping people's heads with machetes that I saw in movies happened in the city in front of my eyes. It was very shocking. I can't forget it even now. Kyohei Kono said, "You'll never be able to imagine it." Why is it like this? Xia Shi Zhangye asked in confusion, "Is it just for money?" In fact, in Indonesia, the rich foreigners are not Hua Xia, but are Japanese expatriates. Therefore, the saying that it's for money is a self-consolation of Hua Xia. The reason why the people in Indonesia chose the Hua Xia was because the people who organized the attack knew very well that no one would seek justice for these victims. Kyohei Kono said coldly. As for the reason, he also knew very well. Because they are Hua Xia. They got Indonesian citizenship and gave up their Hua Xia citizenship. Just like these people in Chinatown, they are all Japanese citizens. If they choose to stay in Japan, it's equivalent to giving up their Hua Xia citizenship. Therefore, Hua Xia won't do anything for them. Kyohei Kono said. No. Then you can't do what you're doing now. They are Japanese citizens, so they are Japanese. Xia Shi Zhangye said, "Then what do you want?" Kyohei Kono said, "Although they are Japanese citizens, they are still not people of our Yamato nation. They are Chinese people. So what if they die?" Xia Shi Zhangye said, "Then the people you want to hurt are your own citizens." What kind of citizens are they? They are just taking on Japanese citizenship. Kyohei Kono said, "Kill them. Hua Xia can't do anything to us, nor can they blame us, because they are already our citizens." Then what effect will you have on Hua Xia by doing this? Xia Shi Zhangye said, "It's impossible to force the people you want to force out." Of course. Kyohei Kono said, "You don't understand Hua Xia, but I do. Hua Xia has a very large group of people who are called Hua Xia trolls." Xia Shi Zhangye really didn't understand Hua Xia, and she didn't want to understand. As for what trolls were, she didn't understand either. Trolls often use vicious words to anger others and provoke disputes. They use extremely insulting words to break down the other party's psychological quality from the bottom of their hearts, causing the other party to feel angry and oppressed. These people's actions are usually more despicable and easy to fool others. Sometimes, they will attack together and make the victim lose their dignity, Kyohei Kono said. After pausing for a moment, he continued, "Trolls are often not very cultured. They don't know or understand much. They can't even distinguish between Chinese and Hua Xia. They even think that Chinese are still Chinese. If they know, they will scold their own country, their own government, and their own people for being incompetent. You'll achieve your goal just like that." Xia Shi Zhangye said, "Let Hua Xia have internal conflicts?" "That's right." Kyohei Kono said, "This way, they will put pressure on themselves. Because they won't think that we are dealing with Hua Xia people who gave up their Hua Xia nationality. Do you understand what I mean?" Xia Shi Zhangye shook her head. "This is really despicable." "Despicable?" Kyohei Kono said, "I don't think so, because I look down on Hua Xia people. Do you understand?" Kyohei Kono believed that in the entire Asia on the international stage, there were only two powerful countries. One was Japan, and the other was Singapore, not Hua Xia. He felt that Hua Xia was a huge country, but it wasn't a powerful country. A powerful country had to have comprehensive strength in economy, education, humanities, technology, and values. In terms of comprehensive strength, he felt that Japan was at least 100 years ahead of Hua Xia. Although the development of some areas in Hua Xia had narrowed this gap in terms of economic development, most places were still lagging behind. In the eyes of Kyohei Kono and the Japanese right wing, Hua Xia was just a weak country. Hua Xia didn't dare to offend any country, even if it was a small country that couldn't be found on the map. Hua Xia's strength and influence were actually smaller than what people saw or heard. Hua Xia's strength on the international stage mainly relied on their fragile domestic market and the investment environment that was conducive to foreign investors. Rational countries didn't treat Huaxia as a powerful country, and to Japan, Huaxia couldn't be considered a powerful country. I will never take Huaxia seriously, never, Kyohei Kono said. Kyohei said, because I look down on this country and its people from the bottom of my heart. Regardless of whether I'm Japanese or not, I will never put China in my eyes. Never. Kyohei Kono, who said this, not only represented himself, but also the thoughts of a portion of the Japanese. Xia Shi Jiangye couldn't think like this. In her eyes, Huaxia was powerful. Perhaps this was the generation gap. I don't agree with you. Huaxia is much more powerful than you think. Otherwise, why would we be the ones who lost the war back then? Why not them? Since Huaxia was so weak in Kyohei Kono's eyes, why hadn't they won the war yet? This was probably a question that Kyohei Kono himself couldn't answer. Chapter 2484. Back then, Huaxia didn't know how to reflect on himself. He didn't ask for the reason and didn't protest at all. He even said that he wouldn't interfere in Nepal's internal affairs, Kyohei Jiangye said. Xia Shi shook her head. We're talking about our own matters. What does it have to do with Nepal? The Huaxia people have already given up their citizenship. What reason does Huaxia have to care if something happens in Nepal? We really can't interfere, right? Every life with Japanese blood, whether they are Japanese or not, has already buried Japan deep in their hearts, Kyohei Jiangye said proudly. But when Huaxia ignored the Huaxia people who fled for their lives, their citizens, those with Huaxia blood, no matter where they lived, their hearts had already unknowingly drifted away from Huaxia. Xia Shi said, that's only because it didn't happen to our people. What if it happened to us Japanese? What can we do? At least we've expressed our attitude. We won't have any interaction with Nepal anymore. Kyohei Jiangye said, the Nepalese don't dare to offend us because they need our technology, our electronic products, and our cars. And they don't need anything from Huaxia. Facing his radical father, Jiangye and Xia Shi were speechless. Tens of thousands of Chinese people suffered a tragedy in Nepal, but Huaxia resolved the problem by not interfering in Nepal's internal affairs, Kyohei Jiangye said. Kyohei Jiangye said, when the tsunami happened in Indonesia, China actually donated tens of millions of USD to Indonesia. Japan is dozens of times richer than Huaxia, but we only donated a few million US dollars. Huaxia was indeed too generous when it came to such matters. He was too generous with his money. In fact, the money could have been used on his country's education and medical insurance. Why did he have to put up a front? Was it just to save face? Would he lose face if he took less? What about the inside story? Did he not want the inside story? Such a disaster should indeed be helped, but look at how much money the developed countries had contributed. Did a developing country have to do this? To put it bluntly, they were just being spendthrifts. I sometimes wonder if the tsunami was God's punishment for the massacre in Nepal. And I really have to say that Huaxia is an inferior race. They have no sense of honor. They can turn a deaf ear to the suffering of their compatriots. They can forget the humiliation. Kyohei Jiangye said. Zhang Yi and Xia Shi wanted to say that this might be Huaxia's tolerance. If they didn't let go of the past and didn't forget it, then shouldn't Huaxia really invade Japan? This enmity was even greater. Huaxia could even forgive Japan's mistakes, so why couldn't she forgive Indonesia? Moreover, everything that Indonesia had done was done to its own citizens. Huaxia is a nation without thinking. They can only pretend to be magnanimous to the world. In fact, how many countries in the world would look up to this inferior race? They were still daydreaming about who they were and who they thought they were. I really feel ashamed for Huaxia, Jinping Jiangye said. In fact, weren't the thoughts that Jinping Jiangye reflected the thoughts of the people in power in Japan? It was because they looked down on Huaxia that they kept provoking and provoking Huaxia again and again. Don't you think that these things are all manipulated by the American Empire? They want Huaxia to explode and make Huaxia angry. They want Huaxia to act irrationally. It's just that Hua Xia didn't fall for it. Jiang Yi and Xia, she said, what you think is only your own thoughts. It doesn't represent Hua Xia's thoughts. Do you understand? Jingping Zhangye said, I've said so much because I want to tell you that Hua Xia isn't worth your protection. It's useless no matter what you say. I won't change my mind. Jiang Yi and Xia, she said, you are my father. You know me better than anyone. Jingping Zhangye said, you really disappoint me. Why do you have to work so hard for such a race? Jiang Yi and Xia, she's expression was very calm. I'm not doing it for any race. I'm just doing it for human rights. At this moment, a series of clapping and cheering came from not far away. Well said. For human rights. If it weren't for human rights, if it weren't for Hua Xiao's resistance to any anti-human behavior, we would have flattened Japan long ago. You think Hua Xia is weak, right? Let me tell you, no matter how weak Hua Xia is, the weapons they have are more impressive than Japan's. Just their nuclear weapons alone are enough to destroy Earth. Do Japan have them? The person who spoke was Lin Gu. The person who spoke before him was Xie Fei's. The more Lin Gu spoke, the angrier he became. Are you looking down on Hua Xia? Are you saying that we're an inferior race? Do you think you're elegant? We don't like to fight, but that doesn't mean we're not good at fighting. Hua Xia had experienced too much in its 5,000 years of history. Especially in the years of feudal society, people were bullied from the bottom. The difference in social hierarchy established by the dynasties of feudal society was really rotten to the bones of Hua Xia people. However, the constant changes from one generation to the next also proved that although Hua Xia people didn't like to fight, they were definitely good at fighting. Otherwise, there wouldn't be troops that could overthrow a regime time and time again. It could even be said that no other country had experienced more wars than Hua Xia people. Starting from the middle to late period of the primitive society, there were countless wars that could be counted. The Yellow Emperor led the Yan Huang tribe to defeat Qi Yu's Dongyi group. That was the famous Battle of Zhualu. King Wu of Zhou killed King Zhou of Shang in the Battle of Mai. The Qin army won the Battle of Chongping and killed 400,000 of the Zhao army's surrendered soldiers. Xiang Yu defeated the king of Qin's hundreds of thousands of troops in the Battle of Julu, causing the Qin dynasty to exist in name only. The hegemon of Western Chu's name was left in history. In the Battle of Gaixia, Liu Bang forced Xiang Yu to commit suicide at the Wu River and killed 80,000 of the Chu army. That was the start of the Han dynasty. At the end of the Eastern Han dynasty, the warlords fought and the world was in chaos. Sun Quan and Liu Bei worked together in the Battle of Red Cliff, causing Cao Cao to lose more than half of his men. In the Tang dynasty's war to destroy the Eastern Turks, the Eastern Turks led by Sheli Khan were beaten to a pulp, resulting in a great victory. The Battle of Poyang Lake between Zhu Yuanzhang and Chen Yuliang was a key event in the establishment of the Ming dynasty. There was also the Battle of Yizhi, which caused Wu Sangue to be labeled as a traitor. The Ming and Qing armies formed by Dogon defeated Li Zicheng's Deshan army. These were all famous wars in Hua Xia's history. Needless to say, it was Hua Xia that stopped the Japanese. Korea, North Korea, and all the other countries in Asia, if it wasn't for the support of China, they would have been finished long ago. Who dared to say that Hua Xia was not good at war? Being good at war did not mean that one had to be warlike. This was the principle of Hua Xia people. Confucius once said that a country needed to be governed by virtue and etiquette. That was why Hua Xia was known as the land of etiquette. This was not the weakness in the eyes of the Japanese right wing. Instead, it was the demeanor of Hua Xia since ancient times. If they were to really fight, with the combat experience accumulated by Hua Xia's ancestor from the Battle of Zhualu, who would Hua Xia be afraid of? So what if they were to fight a modern war? If they really threw a few nuclear bombs at a small country like Japan, it would completely sink to the bottom. Xie Fei's and Lin Gu stood out to prove to Kyohei that Hua Xia people were not only good at war, but they also had unimaginable combat strength. Kyohei was really too excited. He never expected that his opponents would really appear. Moreover, they walked into their encirclement without any scruples. They were simply sending themselves to their deaths. They were definitely sending themselves to their deaths. What surprised him was that there were only 2 people on the other side. These 2 people could actually play around with him in Japan, in his own country. He had almost searched the entire Tokyo and the surrounding cities, but he could not find any traces of these 2 people. Lin Gur and Xie Fei's actually did not need to interfere in the matters of Huaxia. To put it bluntly, these people were only Chinese after all. They could not be considered Huaxia people, so they really did not need to care about them. However, they were still Chinese. Even if these people had already given up their Huaxia nationality and would rather be Japanese, they still could not bear to see them be implicated. Therefore, they stood out. Anyway, the time was almost up. Even if Kyohei did not do this, they would still look for him. At most, they would lose some initiative. However, regardless of whether it was a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, they were determined to barge in. Today, I will make sure you don't return. Kyohei gritted his teeth and said. Chapter 2485. Don't be so sure. It's not up to you whether or not we can get out of here alive today, Lin Gur said. It depends on whether or not we're in the mood to do so. Jiang Ye and Xia Shi were shocked when they saw the 2 of them. There was no doubt that she also felt that the 2 of them were here to die. There was no chance for them to escape at all. So, she quickly thought of a way to give herself to the 2 of them as a hostage. It might be their only chance. I can tell you clearly that the Sakura group has completely surrounded this place. You can't escape even if you have wings, Kyohei Jiang said. I'll make sure you die. Then I'll make sure you die too. Xie Fei said, you arranged for someone to steal the Ebola virus in Yanjing and lost miserably. Here, you'll still lose miserably. Kyohei Jiang suddenly revealed a face full of smiles. Did I lose? Do you really think I've lost? Ha 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 ha. I've already got the composition of the Ebola virus. Today, I'll tell you all this so that you can die without regrets. Lin Gur and Xie Fei couldn't help but frown. This was not something to be joked about. How could he know the composition of the Ebola virus? Do you think we've only arranged for someone to enter Huaxia now? Wrong, completely wrong. Kyohei Jiang said, many years ago, we arranged for someone to enter Huaxia and get close to your virus specialist. If I remember correctly, that person is called Gao Mingwei. Gao Mingwei was very famous. There was probably no one in the country who didn't know how powerful he was. Many large-scale virus infections were caused by Gao Mingwei, who thought of ways to develop vaccines and eventually solve the problem. So, everyone in Huaxia was quite familiar with his name. Even people like Xie Fei, who didn't live in the country often, had heard of Gao Mingwei's name. You seem to be very surprised. Haha, if you're surprised, it means that I'm right. Kyohei Jiang said, unfortunately, the Gao Mingwei you know is no longer the person you know. Now, Gao Mingwei is a bacteriologist of the Great Japanese Empire. He's a virus specialist of the Great Japanese Empire. You've infiltrated with spies? Xie Fei said, you should know very well that spies are not protected internationally. We can execute them directly. It's a pity that no one knows his identity. Kyohei Jiang said, only the 2 of you know about this, but neither of you can leave here alive today. Jiang Xia Shi once again stood in front of Xie Fei and Lin Gur. Father, you can't kill them. They came here to protect the innocent residents. Although this is Chinatown, these Chinese people are not citizens of their country at all. They are citizens of Japan. It is great that they can stand up for us. When are you going to stop messing around? Kyohei Jiang was no longer in the mood to continue arguing with his daughter. Facing the enemy, his eyes had already turned red. I don't care, I must protect the safety of the 2 of them today. Jiang Xia Shi said, I can't let you carry this eternal infamy. Kyohei Jiang kept shaking his head. Do you really want to make things difficult for me? They already know very important information. Do you know what it means if they send things they shouldn't know back to their country? I know. Zhang Ye Xia, she said, but this is what we deserve. Why did you arrange for spies to go to Huaxia? That's not a spy. That's just collecting. Kyohei Jiangye was speechless for a moment. Just collecting the results of scientific research? But in a sense, this was the act of espionage. Zhang Ye Xia, she said, what do you want? Must you destroy the peace? Must you destroy the friendship between the two countries? Friendship. The friendship you speak of is just a hypocritical friendship, Kyohei Jiangye said. Kyohei Jiangye said, their leader even looked impatient when he shook hands with our Prime Minister Abe. His smile was so perfunctory. Do you really think there is friendship between us? What if Prime Minister Abe didn't visit the Yasukuni shrine? What if Prime Minister Abe didn't provoke them? What if the ownership of Turtle Island was figured out? Would there be such a scene? Zhang Ye Xia, she said, wrong people will never find the root cause in themselves. They will only constantly blame others. They think that others didn't do well. And Prime Minister Abe is such a person. He did so many things that he shouldn't have done. Why should Huaxia go along with everything he wants? Why? What a good question. How would Kyohei Jiangye know why? Huaxia had no obligation to indulge the Japanese's bad habits. That was why Abe's third brother was met with an impatient and disdainful expression even when he shook hands. These troubles were all self-inflicted. What did it have to do with others? Friendship is an olive branch extended by Huaxia, but you Japanese didn't accept it. You didn't do what you should have done. CFAI said, so you really don't have the right to talk about friendship with us here. Your leadership circle has never formally faced this problem. Our internal affairs are not for a Chinese like you to lecture us. Kyohei Jiangye glared. You should think about yourself first. CFAI sneered. Do you really think I can't leave this place? Then I'll let you see clearly. Kyohei Jiangye gave the order and hundreds of Sakura group members surrounded them. Among these people, some were even wearing traditional samurai clothes and holding silver katanas in their hands. With this lineup, Kyohei Jiangye wanted to directly chop these two people into meat paste. CFAI smiled. You've always thought that you Japanese have a sense of honor, right? Then let me tell you, no one will think so much in front of money. As long as I have money, I can let you Japanese chop you Japanese. It's that simple. With that, CFAIs made a call. A black mass of 4,000 to 5,000 people surrounded them from all directions. The entire circle around Chinatown was densely packed with human heads. All human heads. If one were to look down from above, CFAIs and Lin Gu would be two small dots. The circle formed by Kyohei Jiangye's people was like a circle drawn with a ballpoint pen, and the black mass of 4,000 to 5,000 people outside was like a circle drawn with a brush. Kyohei Jiangye was also shocked by this feat. Even as the leader of the Sakura group, he did not have such great prestige in Japan to be able to gather so many people. How did CFAIs do it? Kyohei Jiangye could not believe what he was seeing. If I told you that I'm the head of the Yamaguchi group, the largest gang in Japan, would you believe me? CFAIs said. Whether you believe it or not, the members of the Yamaguchi group will tell you the truth today. Kyohei Jiangye kept shaking his head. Impossible, this was absolutely impossible. But in Tokyo, the only organization that could mobilize 4,000 to 5,000 people was probably the Yamaguchi group, right? Moreover, the Yamaguchi group did not listen to the government at all, nor did they care about anyone. Even if Kyohei Jiangye's Sakura group was an organization under the emperor, an organization that the government had always protected, it was nothing in the eyes of the Yamaguchi group. As long as I can earn money for the group, I can obtain enough power, CFAI said. So, I want some people to help me do things. The honorary president, the leader, the Ruatu, the head of the Yamaguchi group, and the head of the Yamaguchi group will all support me. As for the top consultant and others below, they will all have to cooperate with me. In the Yamaguchi group, there are only a few people who have more power than me. Because I am the guarantee of money. You are a Huaxia person. We, the Yamaguchi people of Japan, will not listen to the orders of an inferior race like you. Kyohei Jiangye screamed at the top of his lungs. Lin Gu sneered. Don't make yourself sound so noble. Let me tell you, as long as you give money, there is no race that is more inferior than your Yamaguchi. You don't really think your people have that much self-respect, do you? If your people had self-respect, there would not be so many hard disk seed stars. Leader Kyohei Jongye, what are you waiting for? Do it. Let's see if you can destroy me, or if I will destroy you today, CFAI's provoked. Chapter 2486. The Sakura group did not lack experts, but the Yamaguchi-gumi was not to be trifled with either. 4,000 to 5,000 people were willing to risk their lives. Moreover, there was no lack of capable people in the lead. In addition, Lin Gu and CFAIs were extraordinary people. Zhang Yi Kyohei really had no chance of winning. 5,000 people against 100 people. What kind of concept was that? 50 against 1. Even if the Sakura group members were all experts, they could not withstand such pressure. Moreover, the other party was from the Yamaguchi-gumi. Anyone would consider the consequences of offending the Yamaguchi-gumi. Zhang Yi Kyohei was the leader of the Sakura group and was a popular person by the emperor's side. But what about the others in the Sakura group? The others were not. The others were just his subordinates. Those who converted to the Sakura group did not directly convert to the emperor's side. Therefore, once something happened, if there was no way to resolve it with the Yamaguchi-gumi, the emperor would only help Zhang Yi Kyohei. It had nothing to do with the others in the Sakura group. Those who did not receive any favors would not be able to survive in Japan if they offended the Yamaguchi-gumi. Therefore, facing the current situation, the Sakura group's morale had already fallen. Zhang Yi Kyohei could be said to be the most failed leader of the Sakura group. This was because, other than having some connections with the emperor, he was not familiar with the other major forces in Japan. Whether it was in the political or social circles, he did not have many connections. Perhaps it was caused by Zhang Yi Kyohei's conceit. He always thought that Japan was a country that believed in Shinto, and the emperor was the number one person. However, reality proved that this was not the case. The current emperor was just an empty shell, a symbol of the country. He did not have any real power at all. The reason why Japan kept the emperor was only for the sake of the country's identity. If they really removed him, wouldn't the Shinto that the Japanese believed in their bones be destroyed? This was obviously not desirable. Therefore, the only way was to take away the emperor's power and let this dispensable person always have a name. However, Zhang Yi Kyohei had always foolishly treated this as his most advantageous backing. Little did he know that this would not solve any problems at all. Perhaps the emperor still had some face, but it was only limited to protecting his safety. It was impossible for him to fight for any rights. As for these problems, Zhang Yi Kyohei did not understand them at all. Otherwise, he would not have fallen to such a state. With CFAI's order, the Yamaguchi-gumi people immediately took action. Thus, a crushing confrontation unfolded. Lin Gu stepped forward and grabbed Zhangye Xiaxi's hand, wanting to take her away. There was no need for him or CFAIs to do anything. The Yamaguchi-gumi people could easily handle this. Because Zhangye and Xiaxi had always stood on their side, Lin Gu didn't want such a sensible girl to be implicated because of her father's extreme ignorance. What are you doing? Let me go. Zhang Yi and Xiaxi said angrily, I won't go with you. Where are you taking me? Are you stupid? What if you get hurt by accident if you stay here? Look at how many people there are in the Yamaguchi-gumi. If a few thousand people fight, it won't be easy. Don't get yourself into trouble. Zhangye Xiaxi struggled to break free from Lin Ji's grip. She couldn't leave because her father was still here. No matter how much Zhangye and Xiaxi opposed their father's ideas, they had to admit that they were his daughter. Now that the Sakura group had fallen to such a state, how could she abandon her father and choose to leave? This was absolutely impossible. Let me go. I don't need you to worry about me, Zhangye Xiaxi said. I know. You want to stay here to protect your father. But your father doesn't need your protection at all, Lin Gu said. He has the halo that your Mikado gave him. This thing gives him 100% immunity to damage. Don't worry, the Yamaguchi-gumi won't be able to harm your father. The Yamaguchi-gumi is so powerful. They won't care about anyone. Zhang Yexia said, let me go. I want to go back. CFAI said, you're a Japanese. You don't know Japan as well as I do? No matter how arrogant the Yamaguchi-gumi is, they can't directly challenge the emperor. Even if he doesn't have any real power, the Yamaguchi-gumi won't take the risk of being cursed. Don't worry about that. Zhang Yexia was stunned. Your father is the leader of the Sakura group. Everyone in Japan knows that. CFAI's continued, so the Yamaguchi-gumi won't touch him. Don't talk nonsense. You'll definitely be unlucky if you go. When the time comes, your father will have to divert his attention to protect you. Lin Gu said, moreover, with this situation, you'll probably be hacked to death before you can squeeze in. Who are you? How can you mobilize the Yamaguchi-gumi? Zhang Yexia she still couldn't understand. CFAI smiled. I said just now. I'm the head of the Yamaguchi-gumi's dungeon division. The number of people above me in the Yamaguchi-gumi can be counted on one hand. CFAI said. Zhang Yexia she shook her head in shock. You're also a spy who sneaked in. Your identity isn't. Don't make it sound so bad. You arranged for people to enter Huaxia to pretend to be experts. That's a spy. Lin Gu said, my senior brother came here with his own identity. He joined the Yamaguchi-gumi with his own ability. That's how he got to the position of the dungeon division head. How can you call him a spy? Zhang Yexia she was really speechless. She didn't have any words to refute. My nature is different from yours. CFAI said, I didn't come to Japan with so many goals. Zhang Yexia she shook her head. I don't believe you. But I don't need you to believe me. CFAI said, what does it have to do with me whether you believe me or not? Zhang Yexia she was once again speechless. I'll help you because you're an understanding person. You know that peace isn't easy. Lin Gu said, otherwise, I wouldn't care about your life or death. I'll say this. Nothing good will come out of it if you go back. If you don't go back, your father won't be in any trouble. It's that simple. Make your choice. After Lin Gu finished speaking, he let go of Zhang Yexia's hand. Zhang Yexia she looked at the black mass of heads and was completely at a loss. She really couldn't help at all. If you believe me, then leave with us. We'll send you home. Lin Gu said, as for you, just pack your things. When your father comes back, you'll leave Tokyo as soon as possible and find a quiet place to live. Otherwise, Abe's government won't forgive you. What do you mean? Zhang Yexia she asked. CFAI smiled and added, the emperor will tolerate all your father's mistakes, but Abe won't. Do you understand? Lin Gu said, if you understand, then hurry up and leave with me. The sooner you leave, the sooner you'll have a chance to escape. Abe doesn't want the emperor to always have supporters. So, the more the emperor takes care of people, the more Abe wants to get rid of them. Zhang Yexia she shook her head. You're talking nonsense. Whether we're talking nonsense or not, you already know in your heart. What you want to think is your personal problem. Lin Gu said, you've helped us before, so we're helping you this time because we don't want to owe you a favor. Zhang Yexia she finally gave up resisting and quickly left the scene with the two. She seemed to be able to see the future. Speaking of which, Abe had disliked the Sakura group's attitude more than once. Perhaps it was only a matter of time before he got rid of the Sakura group. Now, the Sakura group could do those shameful things for them, so they didn't do anything to the Sakura group. But after this incident, the Sakura group didn't have the ability to help Abe and his government. Judging from Abe's despicable personality, he would never let the Sakura group go easily. Although Zhang Yexia she didn't know why these two people knew so much about Tokyo, she had to admit that they were right. All of this was very likely to happen. If the Sakura group was useless, then what was the point of keeping it? Could it only be an empty position by the emperor's side? Hua Xia's actions failed again and again. If it weren't for the news from Ishii Rope Island, which was arranged to go to Hua Xia 5 years ago, Abe's side would have already turned against Jiangye Kyohei. All of this was seen by Jiangye Xia Shi, so she could be very clear about it. She was clearer than Lin Gu and Xie Fei's. But she needed their reminder. Perhaps this was the principle that the onlooker sees more clearly than the person involved. Chapter 2487. This battle in Chinatown was definitely the biggest battle in Jingdong this year. The Yamaguchi-gumi's 5,000-strong team defeated the Sakura Group's 100-strong team. Of course, the Yamaguchi-gumi also suffered heavy losses. Close to 600 people were hospitalized with serious injuries. One could imagine how powerful the Sakura Group was. Being able to injure so many people was already their limit. After all, the strongest member of the Sakura Group had been brought to Hua Xia and even lost his wings. Until the end, no one dared to touch Kyohei Jiang. It was not that the Yamaguchi-gumi was afraid of him, but they were worried that the emperor behind him would be too protective. The Yamaguchi-gumi was not even afraid of Abe and his group of cunning dogs. Naturally, they would not be afraid of the emperor. They did not want to provoke the emperor because he was the representative of Shinto. This was a symbol of Japan's god. Even the Yamaguchi-gumi had too many people who believed in Shinto, so they did not provoke the emperor because they did not want to bring trouble to themselves. The entire battle lasted for more than 2 hours. Kyohei Jiang held a large katana horizontally in his hand. His entire body looked like it had been bathed in blood, and the people he had injured today were all Japanese. The doors and windows of Chinatown were still tightly shut. None of the Chinese people dared to come out. They could only hide behind the curtains and watch this terrifying battle. Everyone was grateful to the 2 Hua Xia people. If it were not for their appearance, if it were not for them bringing the Yamaguchi-gumi people here, the Chinese people here would probably have suffered a bloodbath today. They suddenly began to miss their own country. Back then, they had only made such a decision for the sake of convenience. A long time ago, a person who claimed to be the 75th generation of Confucius's direct descendant wrote an article. The title was, "Is it a disgrace for a Hua Xia to become a Japanese citizen?" This person who claimed to be the 75th generation of Confucius's direct descendant had to change his name to become a Japanese citizen. He had even thought of an unreliable name, Kongo Kentaro. Of course, he did not dare to use this name. If he did, he would be insulting his ancestors. Regarding this matter, the people of the country would definitely roll their eyes and scold him. They would say that he had embarrassed his ancestors, the country, and the people. He had also said that he was afraid that he would not be a descendant of Confucius and be nailed to the pillar of shame in history. Obviously, if you did that, why would you still claim to be a descendant of Confucius? Was it interesting? It didn't matter if you were naturalized or permanent resident. It was still a disgrace because you had already gone to King Donging and still had the surname Kong. If the old master knew, he would definitely jump out of the forest of Confucius in anger. In fact, Confucius himself would be bitterly disappointed as well. Not a single one of his direct descendants remained in Tsufu. Not a single one of them wanted to promote the Nishan culture. Instead, they were all using his name to eat. How many generations had it been? To put it bluntly, what does Master Kong have to do with you? In the name of being a descendant of Confucius, he did not do anything to promote Confucian culture. Instead, he wanted to become a Japanese citizen so that it would be more convenient for him to go to Europe. There was no need to scold this kind of person. After all, such people had a million reasons and excuses. Hua Xia people were in Japan, and if they wanted to become Japanese citizens, they had 2 choices: permanent residence or naturalization. Living forever meant that they would retain their roots in their home country, but it might cause them to drift away from the mainstream of Japanese society. Naturalization might allow the Chinese to realize their dream of being equal in Japan, but they would have to abandon everything that belonged to their motherland. These people who had changed their nationality said that there was no need to link permanent residence with naturalization and patriotism because changing nationality had nothing to do with patriotism. These words were indeed from their own hearts, but who could they convince? Those athletes who had become Japanese citizens were even more bitterly disappointed. Perhaps they had their own unspeakable hardships because it was difficult for them to make a name for themselves in Huaxia, especially in the events that they had an advantage in. Perhaps Huaxia was more corrupt in this aspect, and without connections, they would not be able to make a name for themselves. Therefore, they chose to avoid it because they hated it. However, the motherland was the place that nurtured them. No matter what, at this moment, in the face of the killing outside the window, the Chinese people who lived and did business on the Chinese streets of Dongying really missed their own country. If they were in their own country, they would not have fallen to this point no matter what. They would not be afraid that the Japanese would rush up and hurt them. If they were in their own country, no foreigner would dare to do this. Why would they come out to build for Dongying, develop the economy for Dongying, serve the Japanese, and live in fear today? There were more than 100,000 Chinese who had become Japanese citizens. Everyone had their own thoughts, and the Chinese people in the Chinese streets only represented a small portion. In fact, respect would not change much just because you had become a citizen. You would only be valued when your own country was strong. If your country was not strong, even if you changed your nationality, you would still be looked down upon by others with the identity of a Chinese. Therefore, why would they not work hard in their own country? Huaxia really needed talents to stay in their own country and work hard for their own country. This was not only referring to those who migrated to Dongying, but also to those who migrated to other parts of the world. Back then, the American Empire had a good policy of skilled immigration that caused many Huaxia people to abandon their own country. Although this was freedom, it was really sad. It was said that 20% of Chinese people were CEOs of companies in Silicon Valley, and in Silicon Valley, there were countless Chinese employees. All the high-tech work was done by Chinese people, but in the end, their own Huaxia fell behind foreign countries in these aspects. Kyohei Zhengye was tired. His hands that were holding the tochi had begun to tremble. Finally, he could no longer hold it. The tochi fell to the ground, and Kyohei Zhengye knelt on the ground in pain. He could not believe that this was the end of the Sakura group, and he could not believe that he had been played by two Huaxia people. I want to see your leader. Kyohei Zhengye's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the Yamaguchi-gumi members around him. However, none of these people had the right to promise him that they would take him to see their leader. The only thing Kyohei Zhengye could do now was to find the emperor and complain to him. This was the only place where he could vent his grievances. Yamaguchi-gumi was not a place where he could vent his frustrations as he wished. No one knew when it started, but the Yamaguchi-gumi members began to disperse. Soon, the thousands of people had all left. The ambulance and police cars arrived at the scene of the Chinese street almost at the same time. By the time the police arrived, everything had already ended. Kyohei Zhengye was questioning the police. He even wanted to swing his tochi and chop them to the ground. However, he really did not have the strength to hold the tochi anymore. The police knew Kyohei Zhengye's identity, so they did not dare to do anything to him. They could only politely invite him back and inform the relevant departments. After all, he was the emperor's man. Even if he was in such dire straits, no one dared to easily say that they looked down on him. It was not appropriate to say that Kyohei Zhengye had fallen from grace. At least from the police's attitude, it could be seen that he had starved to death. A camel was bigger than a horse, and he still had a status. However, the current Kyohei Zhengye would not receive any care from Abe and the others. Abe and the others needed someone who could help them do things, not a piece of trash who needed their care. Therefore, once the Sakura group was finished, Kyohei Zhengye would be worthless in the eyes of Abe and the others. The only one who would pity him now would probably be the emperor. However, it was so late now. No one would disturb the emperor. No matter how powerless the emperor was, he was still the emperor. He was also a person who could be a groom every day. He was also a person who did not want to be disturbed by others when he was a groom. Therefore, the police could only wrong Kyohei Zhengye to spend the night here. However, Kyohei Zhengye knocked out all the police officers on duty at night and walked back home alone. He felt that he had lost everything. He had lost everything. Now, the only thing he had left was his daughter. Even if his daughter had never been willing to listen to him, he still wanted to see his daughter in his final moments. He no longer had any hope for himself, but he couldn't let his daughter have no hope for him either. He hoped that she could live well alone in the future and continue to live with hope. Chapter 2488. When Kyohei Jiangye returned home, his daughter had already prepared everything. She was waiting for him to come back and take him away from Tokyo to find a remote place. This way, they could at least temporarily avoid the conflicts and disputes they were facing now. For now, after such a big incident, if the group led by Abe wanted to find a scapegoat, Kyohei Jiangye was the best candidate. After all, once the Sakura group was finished, they would have no value to them. If they had to find someone useful in the Sakura group, it would be Ishii Razajima, who had infiltrated Huaxia. The others were useless, including Kyohei Jiangye. So what if the Emperor of Japan supported him? Abe III did not care about the Emperor of Japan at all. He relied on his family's power and the financial group behind him to be so willful. Just look at Abe III's current public support rate. After pushing the unpopular security bill through the House of Representatives despite the public's anger, Abe III's support rate fell to the lowest point, dropping to 35%. This was the lowest point since Abe III came to power. As many as 60% to 70% opposed him. Even so, Abe III did not step down. Why? Because of the power of this political family, most of the faces in the cabinet did not change. After the Japanese House of Representatives election, whether it was the House of Representatives or the Senate, Abe received more than half of the votes. Another point was that after World War II, there was still the protection of the U.S. empire. Japan used to be the world's second largest economy, but now its economy had regressed and stagnated. The people were depressed. Abe III was a descendant of the Communist Party. After he came to power, he used the slogan of Abenomics to stimulate the enthusiasm of the people and fooled many people. In fact, Abe III was mainly on the path of the Communist Party and the economy as a supplement. The U.S. empire now needed Japan to be their pawn to rebalance Asia, so they turned a blind eye to Japan's Communist Party. In terms of Japan's national situation, when the economy developed, they needed the support of military power. Abe III's approach was in line with their thinking. They were the revival of the Communist Party's ideology. This kind of Russian military development was very disadvantageous to the world, and the countries in the world would definitely oppose it. After all, this nation's ideology was very perverted, and they often did some unimaginable things. Only the U.S. empire thought that they could control it. They thought that 2 atomic bombs could make Japan worry forever. However, they did not know that once the Japanese Communist Party was completely revived, even the U.S. empire would suffer losses and regret it. Therefore, with the support of many parties, Abe III dared to be unscrupulous. If he couldn't even handle such a small matter like Kyohei Jiangye, he would definitely fall out with him. I've prepared everything. Let's leave Dongjing now. I won't watch you be embarrassed by Abe and his people. Xiaoshi Jiangye directly told her father her thoughts. Kyohei Jiangye shook his head. Go on your own. The further the better. Go to a place where no one knows you. Come with me. No, I can't leave. Kyohei Jiangye shook his head. Since I'm loyal to the emperor, I can't run away. That would be considered betrayal. Jiangye Xia, she said helplessly. But now even the emperor can't protect you. Without the Sakura group, we have no value in the eyes of Abe-san. I know. I know everything you said, Kyoko Jiangye said calmly. But I still can't leave. Jiang Yi and Xia, she really didn't know what to say. Father, if you don't leave, then you have no other choice. Kyohei Jiangye had made up his mind. He couldn't do anything betraying. I have things that I want to hold on to, Xia Shi. Maybe your way of thinking is correct, but for me, I can't support your way of thinking, Kyoko Jiangye said calmly. The worldview and values that I have in my life cannot be changed. Then I'll just watch you walk down a cliff with no way out? This is my own choice, Kyohei Jiangye said. Perhaps some things really couldn't be explained in a few words. Zhang Yexia, she took a deep breath. Maybe her father didn't understand now, but she believed that he would understand sooner or later. When the day came, he could choose whether to leave this circle or not. She believed that the emperor could still protect him now. At most, he would suffer some humiliation. Zhang Yexia, she didn't force her father to make a choice that he didn't want to make. Perhaps only when he was humiliated, he would understand all this. She left. She believed that a temporary departure was for a better reunion in the future. However, she would never have thought that an hour after she left, Kyohei Jiangye would use his favorite katana to commit seppuku to thank the emperor. For Kyohei Jiangye, this was the greatest humiliation in his life. He didn't know how to face the emperor's cultivation, didn't know how to face the emperor's trust. He made the emperor feel ashamed because of his incompetence, so he could only use seppuku to apologize. Kyohei Jiangye threw his life to God, hoping that his death could be forgiven, hoping that his death could free him. His seppuku was an escape from what he didn't want to face. Perhaps this was the easiest way for him to end all troubles once and for all. The next day, the news of Kyohei Jiangye's seppuku broke out. No one expected that the leader of the Sakura group, who was all-powerful the day before, would suddenly commit seppuku. Even the emperor didn't expect all this to happen so suddenly. He didn't expect this to happen at all. Whether this matter was really Kyohei Jiangye's incompetence or not, he couldn't forgive the pressure that Abe brought to Kyohei Jiangye. But what could he do if he didn't forgive? He was just a decoration of a country. Other than a facade, he was nothing. He didn't dare to fall out with Abe III. Abe III had 100 ways to make him wish he was dead. This was his current situation, so he didn't dare to challenge anyone, especially the group led by Abe III. This group of people were all wearing the same pair of pants. If he was angered, it was really possible that he, the emperor, would be directly crippled. So what if the public support was low? He could still rely on his huge family to help him gain a foothold. Sooner or later, the East Ocean continent would be completely wiped out by these people. Kyohei Jiangye's people wouldn't be praised by anyone, and Abe III wouldn't treat him as a hero. He wouldn't be allowed to enter the Yasukuni society, and wouldn't be allowed to worship him. Because he was just the leader of the Sakura group, and a person who didn't have any great achievements. If he had to give the Sakura group a good reputation, he would have to wait for Ishii Rope to return and hand the Sakura group over to him. As long as Ishii Rope successfully developed a vaccine for the Ebola virus in Huaxia, and a vaccine for all the bacterial weapons, he would be a hero of Japan. Abe III would praise the useful people high and mighty, and he would throw the useless people down ruthlessly, ignoring them. At this point, the Sakura group's matter was completely resolved. Lin Ge, who had received the news from the Japanese daily, heaved a sigh of relief. The trip to Japan this time was really fruitful. They had destroyed this evil organization that had been serving the right wing for a long time. Everything had calmed down, and Lin Ge could have fun in Japan for a few days. It wouldn't be too late for him to return to China after relaxing. He had already spoken to Su Yun on the phone and learned that Ishii Rope's identity had been exposed, so he was even more relieved. Although the Japanese had grasped the composition of the Ebola virus, they had nothing else to show for it. They could develop a weapon for the Ebola virus, but Huaxia could announce the emergence of a vaccine for the virus before they developed it. With Gao Mingwei personally handling this matter, it was only a matter of time before it was completed. Moreover, Ishii Rope had provided many things. With him, a person who was infected, he would definitely tell them everything he knew to save his own life. But in fact, everyone knew that even if the vaccine was successfully developed, Ishii Rope Island would turn into something that was neither human nor ghost due to the continuous experiments. There was nothing he could do about it. After all, he wanted to use the virus to stab Su Yun. Being injected with the virus was called self-inflicted evil. Chapter 2489. The news from Beijing and Japan were all good news, which made Su Yun very happy. Sometimes, what people needed was such a simple piece of news to be able to cheer them up. Almost all of the pressure Su Yun faced came from these aspects. It could be said that he had no pressure in his own life at all. There were probably not many people in the entire entertainment industry who dared to challenge him. Other than the leaders of the departments who held power, Su Yun really did not need to care about anyone else. There were very few people who could control the ban of any film and television. Moreover, they could not say that they could ban just because they wanted to. It was just that offending such people would make their work more complicated. This was the current situation of Hua Xia. There was no other way. For example, a while ago, an animation produced by Sky Entertainment did not pass the censors because there were fighting scenes. How could there be no fighting in an animation that was set in ancient times when the emperor ruled the world? If it was banned because of this, there would be no need to broadcast the romance of the three kingdoms. However, this was the truth. This was the generation gap, the gap. Therefore, most of the animations that passed were boring, childish, and belonged to 5-year-old children. It was not that they could not produce content, but it was not that they would definitely be left behind by foreign animations. It was just because of these reasons. If this kind of thing was made public, it could be said that this was a battle between the elders and the young in Huaxia. The generation gap between the two generations was so big. It was no wonder that the previous generation was stagnant. The younger generation did not care about the current domestic animations at all. After all, those who were in charge of the censors were from the 50s or even the 40s. The main viewers of these things were from the 50s and 90s, not to mention them. The people from the 80s did not care about the animations that were passed in China. It was either a wolf eating a sheep, but it could not eat it and was sent flying. It was a man catching a bear, but he could not catch it and was teased. It was common for the previous generation to not pay attention to the needs of the next generation in Huaxia. Why was it that although many foreign animations, especially Japanese animations, were targeted at young readers, the authors were already middle-aged? What did this mean? It meant that the generation gap between the two generations was not as big as in Huaxia. Objectively speaking, the material conditions of Huaxia's generation were much better than those of the previous generation, but the previous generation's thinking couldn't improve so much. Therefore, it was normal for the previous generation's thinking to be out of place. It had always been Zhua Meiyan who dealt with these people of the previous generation, because Ruan Qingshuang didn't know how to deal with them. And this time, Su Yun was the one to be blamed for it. This was also the first time Su Yun had interacted with the relevant departments as the CEO of Sky Entertainment Group. To put it bluntly, Su Yun was not Zhua Meiyan. He had not grown up in such an environment, and old Master Zhang had never brought him through these things. So this time, Su Yun had a headache dealing with these people. However, this was a big-budget movie, so there was nothing they could do about it. Just because the clothes in this movie were slightly revealing to cater to the effect, it would be a pity if it wasn't approved. Thinking back to the time when the city was filled with Golden Gully, this was much smaller than that. Moreover, this movie had a stronger story than that movie. Su Yun supported the country's actions to clean up the internet. Indeed, it should be like this. Looking at the current internet, it was indeed a little smoky, but the focus shouldn't be on these things. These things weren't to the point where they could really teach children bad things. The things that could really teach children bad things weren't these so-called big-scale TV dramas, movies, novels, comics, magazines, and books. These things were much more harmful to young people than those pornographic websites that couldn't be shut down for thousands of years. First, they had to clean up those things before doing anything else. Then, consider the self-produced web dramas that invited Japanese female stars to make guest appearances. Then, cut the scenes of the TV dramas to the neck, and then investigate the web novels that were only briefly mentioned. It shouldn't be like now, where the whole thing was reversed. A good novel was about emotions, and when something was about to happen, it had to be cut directly. It was afraid of investigation. But thinking about it, who wasn't an emotional animal in life? For example, those who insisted on blocking the self-produced web dramas that only had Japanese female stars making guest appearances. Didn't you have these female stars on your hard drive? Or did you not have the ones you liked on your hard drive, so you wanted to investigate? No matter what, Su Yun was fully prepared to deal with these people this time. Although they weren't important leaders and didn't have much power, they had the rights given by their leaders. Therefore, they could be treated well by Su Yun. It couldn't be helped. It was just like how a first-rank official in a feudal dynasty had to curry favor with a fourth-rank chief eunuch. No, even a sixth-rank deputy chief eunuch had to curry favor with him. Even those imperial eunuchs and palace eunuchs who had nothing to do with them were not easily offended by court officials. This couldn't be helped. Therefore, when these people came to Qingdao, Su Yun treated them as if they were of the highest status. The leader of this small team was called Chai Huai, and he was the head of an investigation department in a relevant department. His family named him Chai Huai because they wanted him to be talented, but unexpectedly, in some northern cities, a person with a disability was called Chai Pao. Chai Huai's small team consisted of 3 people, including him. The clerk was called Gong Chong and the driver. And then there was no more. This was much less than the large team of more than a dozen people that Su Yun had imagined. It seemed that the country's leaders were wise and mighty, and they controlled these extravagant and wasteful things very well. This was originally the case. It was just a small matter, and at most 2 people could handle it. In the past, at least 20 or 30 people would come, and they would use the name of inspection to eat delicacies, drink Moutai, stay in 5-star glittering hotels, and play a full set of games. Now it was really much better. There were only 3 people, and all of them were of the highest status. Su Yun didn't have to spend much money. He arranged for them to stay in a luxurious room in a movie and television hotel, and to eat in a 5-star hotel. There were Chinese and Western restaurants, and if they wanted to eat seafood, they could eat seafood. If they wanted to experience the local customs, how much would it cost to find the best seafood stall in the evening? At most, the prawns cost 38 yuan. How much could they eat in one breath? Didn't the tourists who came to Qingdao for National Day only get scammed 2,000 or 3,000 yuan? Therefore, Su Yun didn't treat this as a pressure at all. The 3 people were too easy to keep company with. When Su Yun finished some things at hand, he saw that it was almost time, so he asked his secretary to tidy up the reception room. The other party was quite punctual. They agreed to meet at 3:00 in the afternoon, and they arrived at 3:00 in the afternoon. Although Chai Huai was only a small section chief of the investigation department, he had a lot of authority. When he came to the reception room upstairs, he didn't have a smile on his face. Even the clerk behind him, Gong Chong, had a long face. He didn't seem to be in a good mood. Zhua Meiyan had already warned Su Yun about this. When Zhua Meiyan called Su Yun yesterday, she said, "Don't think that these people don't have high positions. They are just small section chiefs. They only have this little power in their hands to suppress you. You have to be polite to them." Zhua Meiyan also told him, when they come, they'll definitely have a serious expression on their faces. When they're satisfied with your arrangements, they'll smile. Only when they're smiling can we begin to discuss some serious matters. If you cut to the point directly, you will definitely be rejected on the spot. This is the unspoken rule in this circle. Although Su Yun didn't like the unspoken rules in any circle, he couldn't do anything about it. He could only do these things according to their wishes. There was no other way. Life was like this. The things that could be changed and the things that couldn't be changed were always intertwined. People couldn't completely change it. Section Chief Chai, you are finally here. Come and sit. Su Yun greeted with a smile and waved to his secretary, "Prepare tea." The secretary also cooperated and said to Chai Huai, "Section Chief Chai, what would you like to drink?" "No need." Chai Huai said with a straight face, "I am here to talk about business. Time is tight. I still have work to do when I go back. I will explain it to you briefly. Section Chief Chai, you came all the way here from Beijing. If I don't do my duty as a host, there will be no place for this thing." Su Yun said and pointed to his face, putting on a difficult expression. Chapter 2490. Su Yun's attitude obviously made Chai Huai very satisfied. He liked to talk to people who knew the rules. Although Chai Huai was very clear that he was just a small position, Su Yun was a billionaire in the entertainment industry. But even so, Su Yun needed him to make a lot of money, and he didn't need to ask Su Yun to give him a salary. Therefore, Chai Huai could stand in front of them with a straight back, and even let these rich people bow to him. Chai Huai didn't like small clerks like Gong Chang to be at his beck and call. There was no sense of accomplishment at all. Only when a high-level person like Su Yun was at his beck and call, he felt a strong sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. "President Su, you are too polite," Chai Huai said, "then give me a cup of coffee." Su Yun immediately said, "Go to my office and get the Blue Mountain coffee that presidents were bought in Jamaica." Although Su Yun was very enthusiastic on the surface, he really despised Chai Huai in his heart. It was really not a compliment. Could the Blue Mountain coffee be more expensive than the best pu-er here? He even gave him a cup of coffee. He was the same as Zhou Libo, who drank a pack of Nestle instant coffee with the face of a villain. Although the secretary was a little surprised on the surface, she still went to his office according to Su Yun's instructions, but she really didn't know where the Blue Mountain coffee was. For this reason, she had to call Su Yun again to confirm the location. Under Su Yun's instructions, the secretary finally found a few packs of instant coffee. It wasn't Blue Mountain coffee at all, but Yunnan small grain coffee with Blue Mountain coffee flavor. Su Yun had a lot of things to do some time ago. He always had to stay up late to deal with things. He spent 990 yuan online to buy 10 packs of coffee. These were the remaining packs. To be honest, Su Yun still felt that tea was more refreshing than coffee when he stayed up late. The secretary could only serve him a few packets of Blue Mountain coffee mixed with freshly ground coffee beans. Chai Huai took a sip and was full of praise. He seemed to be very satisfied with this cup of coffee. Although he was only a small section chief, he knew a lot of things. He knew that Blue Mountain coffee was very expensive, and 99% of the coffee he drank in Huaxia was counterfeit. And today, this was bought from Jamaica, so it must be real. Moreover, would rich people like them need to drink fake drinks? It must be the real deal. Even the clerk, Gong Chang, basked in the limelight and drank a cup of Blue Mountain coffee. He thought to himself that this trip to Qingdao was not in vain. Division Chief Chai, you must be tired from the long journey. You must have a good rest in Qingdao today. Su Yun said, I've arranged a room at the movie hotel. We'll stay here today. Let's check out the room first. If we're satisfied, we can stay here. The hotel has professional massage technicians. I've arranged for them to relieve Chief Chai's tiredness. Many A-list celebrities might not even get to enjoy this kind of massage. When Chai Huai heard this, he was really satisfied, but he did not show it on his face. The more important it was at this time, the more he had to keep calm. Boss Su, you're too considerate. How can I accept this? No, we can't do this. It's too extravagant and wasteful. Chai Huai said, we're not here for a vacation. We're here for work. Understood. Of course I understand. Su Yun said, Chief Chai works hard every day. It's all for work, but inspecting our hotel is also part of your job scope. Ha ha ha, the movie hotel is also related to the movie industry. Chai Huai's ugly expression finally disappeared. Boss Su is indeed Boss Su. I can't refuse his words at all. Ha ha ha, that's because Chief Chai is giving me face. Su Yun did not mention anything about the movie censorship. He had to wait. He had to wait for him to take the initiative to speak. Then, he would have to solve the problem. There were many movies, TV shows, and animations that were banned in Huaxia. Other than those that were banned because of a grenade in the crotch, there were all kinds of reasons to ban them. It was easy to solve the problem. There would always be someone who could solve it. The coffee is good, Chai Huai said, but I've been on the bus for 7 or 8 hours. I'm really tired. A cup of coffee really can't relieve my fatigue. Since you're tired from the boat ride, let's go to the hotel first. We'll look at the rooms, have a massage, and have a good rest. I must treat you well tonight. Qingdao's seafood is famous in the north. Su Yun said with a smile. Chai Huai did not refuse. He drank the cup of coffee in one gulp. Then let's go. Let's go now. Please. Su Yun said. Chief Chai really knew how to enjoy life. As soon as he heard Su Yun's arrangement, he immediately left the office. What could he do in the office? At most, he could drink coffee and smoke. There was nothing else he could do. It was more comfortable to go to the hotel. A masseuse would come and give him a massage. Hee. It was very cool. Su Yun took the three to the hotel. Chief Chai naturally had to be given a separate luxury room. The clerk and the driver were also given standard rooms. It was not that Su Yun did not care about their feelings. It was just that he had to distinguish between them and make Chief Chai feel superior. If he had arranged a luxury room for the clerk and the driver, then he would have to give Chief Chai a suite. Su Yun really did not think it was necessary to give him a full suite. Chief Chai was really lacking. The hotel is good. It was Chai Huai's first time in Qingdao Sky Entertainment Film and Television Base, so he was really shocked when he entered the hotel. The luxury room was luxurious enough, which made Chai Huai very satisfied. Even the standard room for the staff and the driver was already very good, which made the two of them feel a little surprised. It was too exaggerated, really too exaggerated. This configuration was amazing. Chief Chai, my place is limited. If you don't mind, you can stay here for one night, Su Yun said. My ability is limited. After all, Qingdao is Qingdao. It can't be compared to Beijing. Mr. Su, you're being too modest. Your movie hotel is one of the best in Beijing. Chai Huai wasn't trying to flatter Su Quebec. He was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Su Yun modestly waved his hand. It can't be compared. It really can't be compared. Then, I'll rest for a while. Chief Chai smiled for the first time. Mr. Su, can the masseuse here? Do you think they can come to my place? Others can't, but Chief Chai is here. That's a must. It's their honor to serve Chief Chai. Su Yun smiled. I'll arrange it for you right away. Please wait a moment. Chai Huai smiled. Mr. Su, please go back first. I'll take a bath too. Haha, I'm tired from the long journey. After Su Yun left Chai Huai's room, he sneered in his heart. This bastard was really impolite. He wanted some service as soon as he came, and he even wanted to take a bath first. At first glance, he knew he was up to no good. He was full of evil thoughts. However, Su Yun's place was not a dirty place. The masseuses in the hotel were all serious masseuses. They were men, and the older ones had a good grasp of acupuncture points. The fee for this kind of serious masseuse was not low. This was a technical job. It was much better than those masseuses who could split the legs casually. Su Yun left after arranging for the masseuse. He believed that Chai Huai would be very depressed when he saw that it was a man. However, Su Yun also believed that after Chai Huai enjoyed the massage, he would understand that this was a massage. Those messy things could not be called a massage. They could only be called touching. Of course, Su Yun also arranged masseuses for the clerk and the driver. Although they were of different levels, Su Yun still treated them equally. Otherwise, these two people would gossip in front of Chai Huai. Su Yun really did not understand these things. Fortunately, Zhuo Meiyan gave him a lot of reminders and warnings. She told him how to face and deal with these kinds of things. Otherwise, when Chief Chai came in with a sour face, Su Yun would have directly questioned him why he could not pass the inspection. That would only offend him. When he went back, he would continue to add fuel to the fire. Then, the movie would have to wait for a while. Su Yun did not have that much time to play with them. If he could solve it once, he would solve it once. Chapter 2491. Although Chai Huai despised the masseuse, after experiencing it carefully, he realized that this was a real massage. What were the places he had been to before? Those female masseuses who casually massaged, caressed, and rubbed their bare legs on the customers couldn't be called masseuses. They were just massaging casually. Why did so many people like to enjoy massages? Actually, they weren't looking for the relief after a massage. That kind of relief could be done at a massage therapy shop beside a hospital for less than $100. However, people still preferred to go to the bigger leisure shops for massages. They went to the big foot bath city for massages. Each massage would cost 200 to 300 yuan. Wasn't it because the masseuses were young and beautiful? Could it be that they really went there for the massage techniques? Nonsense. This time, the masseuse really impressed Chai Huai. Masseuse, I regret letting you massage me. If this happens in the future, I won't be able to find such a technique anywhere. Leader, your boss Su's friend. If you want me to service you, just say the word. The masseuse smiled. They were very grateful to Su Yun. Before Su Yun took them in, they actually didn't have a good life. Because he was a masseuse, he could only rely on it to make a living. Although as a disabled person, he would receive some care from society, there would always be some people who wouldn't have any pity for him. They would even steal from him, rob him, give him fake money, and even use the fact that he was blind to accuse him of molesting and cheating him. In his life, he had massaged tens of thousands of customers. He had encountered all kinds of people. Therefore, he had experienced a lot of trouble. Because he couldn't do it anymore, he transferred to another boss. That boss was Shirley. He worked at Shirley's bathhouse. But of the customers who went there, which one wasn't looking for girls to flirt with? There were too few people who looked for an old man like him to massage. Fortunately, Shirley took care of him. That was why he had always been able to eat. Now, by chance, he had come to the movie hotel to work in this line of work. It wasn't just him. There were a few friends he knew who were all blind masseuses. Their techniques were very good. Now that they were all staying in this place, many celebrities liked to be served by them because their skills were really good. Moreover, they couldn't see, didn't talk nonsense, and didn't use their phones to secretly take any photos. Therefore, this job really gave him a second chance at life. Therefore, he was very grateful to both Shirley and Su Yun. Today, Su Yun had arranged for him to serve this leader. Naturally, he would do his best. How high is my rank? Ha ha ha, your boss Su is a big boss. I can't catch up to him even if I try. Chai Huai said, if he didn't need my help this time, do you think he would have arranged things so well for me? Isn't it just to make it easier for me? Otherwise, why would he bother with me? The masseuse smiled and said, that still shows that you have a high position and power. Even Mr. Su has to speak to you properly. Our Chief Su is a good person. He will definitely satisfy you. Chai Huai nodded. He was very satisfied with the accommodation and the massage. However, if there were no more special services, he would still feel a little disappointed. After all, with his rank, it was a small position even more gritty than gravel in Yanjing. Who would treat him like a scallion or a garlic clove? No one would care about him at all. This time, he finally had the opportunity to come out and deal with some things. He must seize it, he must seize it. It wasn't easy for him to get such a good opportunity, so he had to use all the power he had and let this rich boss arrange things for him so that he could enjoy the things that big leaders usually enjoyed. This was Chai Huai's main purpose for coming out this time. What he wanted was that kind of feeling, to let him feel that he was superior to others. Moreover, this kind of power could only be used at this time. Once this time passed, the power would be null and void, and it would be meaningless. Masseuse, thank you for today. It's really been hard on you. Chai Huai said, you usually serve celebrities. They must give you a lot of tips, but I'm just a salaried worker. I don't have that much spare money. Leader, look at what you said. It's my honor to serve you. The masseuse said, if you say that, it's really a slap in my face. Ha ha ha. For the first time, Chai Huai felt that he was being treated as a leader. The masseuse left after the service. He felt quite good. He lay alone on the bed of a 5-star movie hotel, fantasizing about what kind of service he would enjoy tonight. Suddenly, Chai Huai felt that this was life. This was life. What kind of life was he living before? It couldn't be considered life at all. He didn't want that kind of life anymore. How good would it be if he could enjoy it every day until he was old? Phew. Maybe there would be an A-list female celebrity to accompany him during dinner tonight. When he thought of this, Chai Huai was even more elated. He had heard about the price of an A-list female celebrity's dinner party. Some of them had an appearance fee of millions, or even more. But he had the power. He could let the celebrity's boss speak directly. Just like today's masseuses, who kept calling him a leader. It made him elated. He even had to flatter him and make him feel comfortable. He had to coax him. There was someone to hold his wine, someone to pour his tea, and someone to light his cigarette with just a look. What kind of feeling was this? It was the feeling of an emperor. Those losers would never be able to enjoy such a life. When he thought of his family forcing him to take the university entrance exam, he felt that it was meaningless. But now, he suddenly felt that it was great. If it wasn't for his family forcing him to take the university entrance exam, he would be a loser for the rest of his life. He would never be able to see any A-list celebrities. Staying in the luxurious room of a 5-star movie hotel? What a joke. He didn't even dare to think about it. Other than having a boss like Su Yun to make arrangements for him, his monthly salary might not even be enough for a night's room fee. The difference was huge. But so what if he was rich? At least for today, Su Yun had to do things according to his wishes. No matter how arrogant he was usually, he had to put it away today. If he was a dragon, he had to coil up. If he was a tiger, he had to lie down. Otherwise, one word from him could give him a headache for a while. If he had the ability, then he should be so willful. If he wasn't convinced, then he shouldn't treat him like this today. After the massage, Chai Huai slept in the movie hotel until 5:30 in the afternoon. He slept very comfortably. What made him feel even better was that when he opened the door, there was someone waiting outside. It was one of Su Yun's secretaries. Section Chief Chai, you're awake. Our CEO Su said that when you wake up and when you want to eat, just let me know. Do you want Chinese or Western food? Just tell me and I'll make the arrangements immediately. CEO Su will also come over to accompany you. Chai Huai smiled. This was comfortable. Waiting at the door and not calling him if he didn't wake up. This was the feeling of being treated as a leader. Since I am in Qingdao, I naturally want to eat seafood. Chai Huai smiled. Boss Su is the owner here. Let him arrange it. Okay, I will contact Boss Su immediately. The secretary said, Chief Chai, please wait for a moment. You can also go to the hotel's coffee shop to have coffee first. Okay, then I will go and have coffee first. Chai Huai wanted to see if he could meet some big stars. He immediately sent a text message to the clerk, Xiao Gong, and the driver, asking them to come up for coffee. Anyway, it didn't cost any money. They could enjoy it. He would also do them a favor. He must bring them along for the meal today. In the future, the clerk and the driver would definitely talk to him nicely. People were friends. No matter what, the two of them enjoyed with Chai Huai this time. After returning to Yanjing, if Chai Huai wanted to use the bus or something, the driver would definitely give him some face. After all, this wasn't his full-time driver. It was the company's driver, so he had to consider the driver's feelings. Chapter 2492. Knowing that Chai Huai had rested well, Su Yun delegated his work to his subordinates and went straight to the hotel. When Su Yun arrived, Chai Huai, his staff, and his driver were already drinking coffee in the hotel's cafe. They looked like they were enjoying life. When they were at work, they were the ones who had to pour tea for their superiors. Now that they were the ones being served, they had to enjoy themselves. Section Chief Chai, sorry to keep you waiting. Did you rest well in the afternoon? Su Yun asked the hotel staff to arrange a meal and went to find them. Chai Huai said indifferently, Chairman Su, your daily life is really too comfortable. If you live like this every day, you will have nothing left to ask for. If Section Chief Chai likes it, you can stay here. It's just a matter of a word. Su Yun said, as long as Section Chief Chai likes it. If I do this every day, I will be fired. Chai Huai said, if I'm fired, Chairman Su won't even look at me, right? Ha ha ha, this isn't a joke, right? Su Yun waved his hand. Look at what Section Chief Chai is saying. We know each other and are friends. Friends don't talk so much. Chai Huai nodded with satisfaction. Gong Chang, who was sitting next to him, said, Chairman Su is a person who cares about rules. Since we know each other, we are friends. We can't stop contacting each other in the future. If Chairman Su goes to Beijing, we will definitely treat you well. Su Yun said a few more words to them. At the hotel, Bai Xiaoye called to tell him that dinner was ready. Chief Chai, you must be hungry. Now that we're at Qingdao, you must try the seafood there. It's the specialty of the north. Su Yun smiled. Today, let's not talk about work, let's not talk about things. We're not going home until we're drunk. Chai Huai laughed. Chairman Su is indeed Chairman Su. How generous. The whole country knows that there are 38 prawns in Qingdao. A plate of them costs more than 1,000. Ordinary people like us can't bear to spend money. Thank you, Chairman Su. Su Yun waved his hand embarrassedly. I'm sorry, Mr. Chai. Guqin Island has been tarnished by the shameless behavior of a few shameless people. That's right. Every place is afraid of this kind of black sheep. A single piece of rat *T can ruin a pot of porridge and ruin the reputation of our tourist city, Chai Huai said. But then again, we really want to eat Qingdao prawns. I'm looking forward to it. If serving this kind of person could be solved by eating prawns, it would be really cheap. 38 yuan was not expensive. Su Yun was against extravagance and waste, but Zhuo Meiyan had warned him that when entertaining such people, it was absolutely necessary to spend money. Therefore, Su Yun asked Bai Xiaoye to prepare the seafood feast according to high standards. Steamed king crab, snow velvet scallop, sea cucumber in scallion sauce, golden hook abalone, oysters, razor clams, and 9-toothed fan prawns were all served on giant plates. Basically, all the seafood that could be served was on the table. The large table was filled with 28 seafood dishes. Chai Huai had been a section chief in Yanjing for quite some time, but this was the first time he had eaten a feast of this scale. This was the first time he had seen sea cucumbers that could be stir-fried with green onions. Abalones were served like meatball soup. A big oyster in Yanjing was sold for 30 renminbi, and this plate was densely packed with hundreds of them. And that king crab, according to Su Yun, weighed 5 kilograms. A crab's leg was about the same length as an adult's arm. They were dumbfounded by what they saw. They did not expect the people of Qingdao to be so good at eating seafood. If they dared to sell a prawn for 38 yuan, this table would not be able to pay for at least a few million yuan. Chairman Su, isn't this a little too extravagant? Chai Huai said. This is the biggest seafood feast I have ever seen in my life. Now that we are in Qingdao, at my hotel, if I don't treat the three of you well, I will lose face as a host, Su Yun said. Come, Section Chief Chai, let's toast to our acquaintance. The waiter quickly filled their cups with wine. They were drinking wuliangye, and the aroma was overflowing. Chai Huai was slightly startled. Chairman Su, such a big table of seafood, and only the 4 of us are eating? Isn't this a little too wasteful? Is there no one else? This made Chai Huai a little disappointed, because he did not see anyone accompanying them. Was there no female celebrity in such a big sky entertainment group to accompany them? Not to mention A-listers, even B-listers would be fine. Su Yun had really forgotten this point. When he hosted this kind of reception in the past, Zhuo Meiyan herself was already a queen-level beauty, so no one cared whether or not there was a beauty accompanying them. Now that the 4 of them were drinking together, it was indeed a little boring. But Su Yun had not prepared for this, so where could he find someone for them at this time? But Chai Huai's face was so ugly, if they did not find a celebrity accompanying them today, the seafood would really be fed to the dogs. Of course not. Su Yun smiled. This matter had to be resolved. Because of some circumstances, some people are not here yet. But don't worry, we will drink first. When they come, they will pour us wine. Chai Huai was startled. Oh, really? Of course. Su Yun sent a message to Bai Xiaoye when he said this, asking her to think of a way to save the situation. Bai Xiaoye was speechless when she received Su Yun's message. He was just a small section chief, but he had so many bad habits. If he wanted to eat seafood, he would eat seafood, and if he wanted to drink wine, he would drink wine. What kind of big shot did he think he was? But she had no choice. Since Su Yun had said this, she had to do it. Now, the only people Bai Xiaoye could find were Fan Bing, who had been recuperating on Qingdao, and Ling Jiling, who had just come to visit Fan Bing yesterday afternoon. After all, even Su Yun didn't know that Ling Jiling had gone to Qingdao. Looking for the two of them? Wasn't that giving Section Chief Chai too much face? Even if the head of the bureau came, he probably wouldn't have the face to invite the two of them to a meal together. In the past, there had been bosses who had offered several million yuan to invite them to a meal, and this was only for one person. If the two of them came together, even 10 million yuan might not be enough to invite them. However, it was too late to make any arrangements now. Other than Fan Bing, who had been recuperating on Qingdao, and Ling Jiling, who had come to Qingdao to rest, Bai Xiaoye could not find anyone else in a short time. Since that was the case, she could only ask them for help. Bai Xiaoye called them and explained the situation. They knew that this was Su Yun's first time dealing with this kind of situation and had no experience. If he needed them to save the situation, they would naturally do it. Nothing was more important than Su Yun's matter. After Ling Jiling and Fan Bing received the call, they immediately rushed to the movie hotel. Bai Xiaoye was waiting for them at the entrance. When the two of them stopped the car, Bai Xiaoye immediately ran over. You guys are really fast. It hasn't even been half an hour. We were about to go out for a meal when we received your call. Just as we were about to leave, we came to scrounge for a meal. It's the same no matter where we go. Ling Jiling smiled. Let's go up. The crown prince must be unable to handle it now. The lower the position, the more he likes to use a chicken feather as an arrow. Bai Xiaoye nodded. Sister Jiling, you're too accurate. You're right. He's that kind of person. Ever since Fan Bing's accident, she had recovered well. She had not started a new job since she finished filming a movie. Su Yun wanted her to rest for one more year and relax. Hence, she was in a good condition. Then let's go up and meet this little leader, Fan Bing said. Let's see if he can't handle it first, or if CEO Su can't handle it first. Bai Xiaoye wanted to remind them. If that person goes overboard. Xiaoye, don't worry. We've been in this industry for more than 10 years. It's easy for us to deal with this kind of small matter. Ling Jiling smiled. Let's go. You should learn how to deal with this kind of situation. You have to help your brother share the pressure in the future. The three of them talked as they walked. Chapter 2493. As the person in charge of the hotel, Bai Xiaoye had met Chai Huai and the other two in the afternoon. However, she didn't interact much with them. With Su Yun by her side, she didn't want to have too much interaction with these kinds of people. Chai Huai was already attracted to this beautiful manager Bai. After hearing that she was Su Yun's sister, he didn't dare to have any other thoughts. Now that she had brought Ling Jiling and Fan Bing, two A-list celebrities, Chai Huai couldn't breathe in an instant. He felt as if he had really ascended to heaven. Su Yun was also shocked. He originally thought that Bai Xiaoye would just casually grab two signed artists who had nothing to do and were staying in the hotel. Who knew that she would be so awesome that she could get two big influencers with tens of millions of fans on Weibo to come over. Even Su Yun didn't have the courage to call these two people over. Moreover, they were just a small section chief. To put it bluntly, they were really unworthy. Su Yun really didn't expect that the two of them would really give him face. They came just like that, and didn't seem unhappy at all. At this time, Su Yun still didn't understand, but Fan Bing and Ling Jieling had already figured it out. For them, they weren't here to accompany a small section chief in charge of the pre-release review of a movie, but to accompany Su Yun to have a meal. With this mentality, the two of them naturally didn't feel any pressure at all. It was as if they were going to have a meal with friends, except that there was an additional stranger. Chai Huai was scared silly as soon as they came in. The chauffeur beside Chai Huai dropped his chopsticks on the ground. He had gone to many dinners with his boss, but he had never seen him accompanied by such a high-class female celebrity. Gong Chong trembled and wanted to take out his phone to take a photo, but he was stopped by Xiaoye in advance. "Mr. Gong, please understand that our company doesn't allow you to take photos casually in order to protect the identity of our artists. I hope you can understand that in today's society, as long as someone is popular, any photo can cause trouble." Chai Huai was afraid that the two big stars would directly leave because of Gong Chong's behavior, so he glared at Gong Chong and said, "Hurry up and put it away. Why don't you know the rules?" If they could take photos, Chai Huai would definitely ask for a group photo later. With Su Yun around, how could they not agree? Of course he would agree. However, if he were to sneakily take out his phone, it would give others an excuse and opportunity. That was why Chai Huai reprimanded him so decisively. Gong Chong hurriedly apologized. He didn't know why, but when he saw these two celebrities, he felt that he had become a lot more despicable. There was nothing he could do about it. This was how people's thoughts were. All right. It's nothing. Let's just have a simple meal together. Don't be so reserved. Su Yun waved his hand and gestured for the three to sit down. After Ling Jieling sat down, she smiled and said, "Director Su, your seafood banquet today is really extravagant. Can we finish it with just the few of us?" This is... Fan Bing also sat down and seemed to be more polite. "President Su, shouldn't you introduce him? Come, let me introduce you. This is Section Chief Chai, who came to our Sky Entertainment studio to inspect our work. You can tell at a glance that he's young and promising." A man in his 30s who was still a small section chief in Yanjing probably wouldn't have a chance to make a comeback in this lifetime. Su Yun used the words, young and promising, to praise him. He really didn't know if it was a disguised insult. Yes. Section Chief Chai looks so young, but he's already a section chief. In a few years, Sky Entertainment will have to give face to Section Chief Chai for everything. Ling Jieling said, "Section Chief Chai needs to be taken care of." Chai Huai's smile didn't disappear from his face ever since the two celebrities entered the room. His mouth was sore from the grin, but he still couldn't help but feel happy. No. I don't dare." Chai Huai waved his hand vigorously. "I only have this much ability. I can't make a comeback. Section Chief Chai, how can this be called a little ability? With the power in your hands, our President Su will do whatever you want him to do." Fan Bing said, "We don't dare to offend you." Chai Huai hurriedly waved his hand. No. You're joking. I don't dare to offend President Su. You're treating me like an outsider. Since we're all friends, there's no need to be so calculative. Su Yun raised his glass. "Come, let's toast to Section Chief Chai. I hope our future cooperation will be smooth and beautiful." After 3 rounds of drinks, Chai Huai's face was already red from the alcohol. He smiled at Su Yun and said, "Chairman Su, don't worry. From now on, as long as it's something related to Sky Entertainment, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of everything for you." Section Chief Chai, with your words, I'm relieved. Su Yun smiled. It seemed that Zhua Meiyan was right. Everything had to wait for them to take the initiative. Only then could things be considered easy. Isn't it because of some of the fighting scenes that didn't pass the review? Listen to me. Just delete 1 or 2 minutes of the fight scene and leave the rest to me. Chai Huai said. That's all you need to do. Su Yun, then I really have to thank you, Section Chief Chai. You've definitely made a huge contribution to Hua Xia's animation industry. This animation is the biggest in Hua Xia's history. Not only does it represent history, but it's also produced by a top foreign team. As long as it passes the review, it'll be a blessing for Hua Xia's animation fans. Chai Huai laughed. President Su, I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't have the mood for it. I only know that if you treat me well, then I'll treat you well. Come, Section Chief Chai, let me toast you again. Su Yun said. No, I can't drink anymore. If I drink anymore, I'll die in my sleep. Chai Huai smiled. He looked at Ling Jiling and Fan Bing, then turned to Su Yun. I wonder if President Su likes to sing? Let's go sing. Let me appreciate your voice too. Su Yun nodded. Of course. If Miss Jiling and Miss Fan Bing can sing Hiroshima Love with me, then I won't have any regrets in my life, Chai Huai said. At this moment, his purpose was very clear. He knew that he couldn't get anything out of drinking. Su Yun was just about to find an excuse when Bai Xiaoye stood up. I'm sorry, Section Chief Chai. Sister Jiling has to rush back to the set tonight. She has something important to discuss with the director. Sister Fan Bing has an important guest role in a movie, so she has to catch a plane immediately. I'm afraid we don't have time. Chai Huai's expression turned ugly. It was as if he had just agreed to be their brother, but now he was suddenly thrown aside. Am I being too petty? Chai Huai's unhappiness immediately showed on his face. Su Yun had no choice but to say, no, of course not. But their time is really tight. Section Chief Chai, you must understand. Fan Bing and Ling Jiling came here to eat because of Su Yun, so they had to avoid excessive requests in the future. Even if Chai Huai really just wanted to sing, they still had to worry about whether they would be photographed at the place they were going to. If they were photographed by the paparazzi, they would definitely make an issue of it the next day. There were many people in the KTV, so they had to be careful. Don't worry, Section Chief Chai. I will definitely play with you, Su Yun said. Me too. I can sing with Section Chief Chai. As long as you want to sing, we can sing for as long as you want. Bai Xiaoye also threw caution to the wind. After all, if she didn't calm this guy down now, he would definitely commit a crime. Section Chief Chai reluctantly agreed and let Ling Jiling and Fan Bing go. The biggest KTV in Qingdao happened to be brightly lit. After Su Yun and his group arrived, they asked for the most luxurious room and ordered 2 bottles of the most expensive wine. Under Chai Huai's vague request, he also called a few VIP princesses who would sing, drink, and chat with them. Everyone knew that the VIP princesses were just tools to act cute and coquettishly to trick the guests into ordering more wine and spending more money. They would definitely be touched by the guests. Anyway, Su Yun didn't care, so he ordered 2 more bottles of wine. Unexpectedly, the VIP princesses saw that they had met a rich guest and ordered the most expensive wine, so they didn't hold back and played around here. The wine commission was 5%, so they had to work hard. Besides, if they treated the guests well, they would get tips. Why not? This was a job for them to sell their skills. At least, they felt that this job was much cleaner than other jobs. Chapter 2494. To Su Yun, as long as it was Chai Huai, he could drink as much as he wanted. As long as Chai Huai didn't cause any trouble, it was fine. Chai Huai's alcohol tolerance was indeed average. At dinner, he only drank 2 glasses of white wine. When he came here, he drank 2 glasses of foreign wine mixed with a mess of drinks. His whole person seemed to be in a daze. Once a person's mind was in a daze, they wouldn't be able to tell the severity of their actions. Some things that they couldn't do before would suddenly become unrestrained under the influence of alcohol. When Chai Huai was in Beijing, he didn't dare to get involved in these kinds of things. If he was investigated by the Commission for Discipline Inspection, it wouldn't be a small matter. He would definitely be expelled from the party and work unit. He wouldn't be able to raise his head again for the rest of his life. However, he was completely at ease on Guqin Island. Here, the emperor was far away, and this was Su Yun's home ground. Therefore, he was not worried at all that anything unfavorable would happen. Chai Huai directly reached his hand into the clothes of a princess. His greedy look made Bai Xiaoye feel disgusted. After all, she was a girl. However, Chai Huai, who was having a good time, was completely unrestrained. Bai Xiaoye turned her head and ignored him. She was looking at her phone. Su Yun was also helpless. He realized the gap between him and Zhua Meiyan. If it were Zhua Meiyan, everything would have been solved at the dinner table. If she couldn't solve it at the dinner table, then she wouldn't be Zhua Meiyan. This situation wouldn't have happened. There was no way to deal with it, and they could only let Chai Huai do whatever he wanted. The princess in the room didn't care. He was just taking advantage of her. This was the benefit of a guest. Even if a guest really wanted to do something, as long as they were willing to pay, they didn't care about a gunfight in the room. Money and alcohol could destroy a person's willpower. When this profession first started, people said that the princess in the room had fallen into the mortal world. She was just a performer, not a prostitute. Therefore, every man who went to the KTV to seek pleasure or relieve boredom would have to control their imagination and lower body in the face of seductive women who exposed their breasts and backs. It wasn't a problem for him to say a few lewd words while he was drunk, but he absolutely couldn't act like a hooligan. That was because not all women who accompanied them were prostitutes. They couldn't be looked at with prejudice. They also had their dignity. But what about after a long time? His principles and bottom line were all gone. What couldn't he do? It could even be said that sometimes, when they were having fun, they even dared to let customers who weren't wearing raincoats mess around. There were even some people who would take drugs directly because they were too high. This was a very common thing. The current princesses weren't as clean as the princesses of the past. It wasn't about the job class. It was just that the bottom line of people nowadays was getting lower and lower. In a bar 20 years ago, who would dare to ask a strange girl if she wanted to go on a date? What about now? As long as you were a rich man, there would naturally be girls who would stick to you and ask if you wanted to go to the bar. The VIP room princess was no longer the kind of girl who poured, mixed, and cleaned drinks. She could let go of everything. If she couldn't let go of everything, she wouldn't be able to survive in this industry. None of them didn't want to follow the bottom line, but who could do it? Some rich second generations came and asked to drink with them. Who wouldn't be tempted by the tips of tens of thousands of yuan? Anyone who had fallen to such a state was here for the money. Otherwise, what else could it be? Otherwise, why would they do this kind of job that would be looked at in a different light? Therefore, as long as one had money, everything could change. Although Chai Huai didn't have to pay a single cent, he knew in his heart that as long as he ordered enough alcohol, he could take advantage of them. These VIP room princesses wouldn't easily give up on such a good customer. Su Yun was just that capricious. He opened the most expensive alcohol. The price of one bottle was comparable to the price of 10 bottles in some VIP rooms. Who wouldn't want to make money here? Therefore, Chai Huai was having a lot of fun. These girls could even snuggle up to him one by one. Every time they touched him, they would get a glass of alcohol. That was all shining white money. In the end, Chai Huai even took off his shirt. He threw his clothes on the sofa and said to Bai Xiaoye, "Miss Bai, didn't you say that you wanted to sing with me? Come on." Bai Xiaoye took a deep breath. She was about to get angry. If it weren't for Sky Entertainment and Su Yun, she would have already fallen out with him. Su Yun also unknowingly changed his attitude during this process. He didn't care about those girls who could play with them as long as they were paid, but if Chai Huai had any ideas about Bai Xiaoye, he wouldn't let him off. Even if Su Yun didn't want this animated movie to be broadcasted, he wouldn't let Bai Xiaoye sing with such a drunk and perverted guy. Seeing that Bai Xiaoye had no intention of getting up, Chai Huai walked forward and reached out to grab her arm. "Chief Chai, it's about time." Su Yun suddenly said, "You can play however you want here, but don't provoke my sister." Chai Huai was stunned. Su Yun's expression was serious. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. However, Su Yun had given him courage ever since he came here, so Chai Huai mustered up the courage to face Su Yun. Mr. Su, what do you mean by this? I just want to sing with Miss Bai. Are you not happy about it? How can we work together happily in the future? Under Su Yun's sharp gaze, Chai Huai obediently let go of his hand. Although his mouth was tough, his actions showed his weakness. No matter what, this was Su Yun's territory. Before he provoked Su Yun, he had to think of a way out. Even if he could give Su Yun a hard time during the movie review and create trouble for Sky Entertainment, he was the one who was in trouble. Chief Chai, I've treated you well since you came to Qingdao, right? Su Yun said, people should be content with what they have. Don't be greedy. Chai Huai looked at Su Yun's eyes and didn't dare to say anything for a while. The staff and the driver didn't dare to say anything either. If Chai Huai offended Su Yun, they still had a way out. At least they didn't say anything. Originally, you could have enjoyed life here for 2 days. Before you leave, you could bring some specialties from Qingdao. I'll prepare red packets according to the rules, Su Yun said, but if you continue to be so greedy, I'm afraid you won't get anything. Chai Huai gritted his teeth. Mr. Su, if you want to fight to the death, then I won't hold back. If we compare losses, you'll lose more than me. Really? Su Yun said, how much can I lose by losing a movie? Tens of millions? 100 million? Haha. What about you? You'll lose your job, your party membership, and your face. Of course, how many millions can you earn from your life's work? Compared to my investment, you'll lose very little. I'll lose more. Chai Huai's forehead broke out in a cold sweat. Wasn't losing his job too exaggerated? He really didn't have such a sense of crisis. But if you compare, 100 million is nothing in my eyes, but a job and a lifetime of income is a big deal in your eyes. Su Yun said, maybe you don't think I can make you lose your job, but there's something that can make you lose everything. Just as Chai Huai was at a loss, Su Yun waved his phone. How many people in the country have lost their jobs because of unsightly videos? Do you need me to remind you? As soon as he heard this, Chai Huai felt guilty. Not only did Chai Huai feel guilty, but the staff and the driver also felt guilty. Who would have thought that Su Yun would actually record them when they were having fun just now? This time, it was really too big of a gamble. Su Yun was really too ruthless. He actually dared to do such a shady thing. It was as if he wanted their lives. You tricked us. Chai Huai glared. Section Chief Chai, don't be so harsh with your words. Su Yun said, I know very well that the King of Hell is easy to deal with, but the little demons are hard to deal with. You're just a small section chief. What I can give you will definitely satisfy your appetite. I'm just afraid that you won't be satisfied. Your appetite is too big. This was also taught to Su Yun by Zhua Meiyan. Su Yun really didn't expect Zhua Meiyan to be so accurate. She said that if it was a small official, he would have all kinds of unreasonable requests. If there was a chance, he should leave some evidence. This way, it would be easy to shut them up. Su Yun really had to admire Zhua Meiyan's intelligence. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.